Okay. Screw the recap, going right into it. It's trial time. This is the defendant lobby, alright, but there's no defendant. I've been trying to reach Lana all morning. Where could she be? Where's Emma, for that matter? It almost seems as if something's been happening behind the scenes. Edgeworth? Knowing you, you've already figured it out. Who the owner of the 7-7's ID number is. Well, I have a pretty strong hunch. Looks like I'm not the only one who's figured it out. You know, the only reason this trial didn't reach a verdict yesterday is because there was still room for doubt on this ID record. If that number does belong to the victim you suspect, then no doubt will remain. After all, he hasn't officially been charged with anything. True, not yet. In any event, once all doubt has been removed from that list, I can call for a ruling. On the defendant, 5 minutes after the trial starts, Lana will be found guilty. But she didn't do it! I figured you'd say as much. And that's why I came here, to hear what you have to say. It's the first time he's ever done something like this. Lana's hiding something, and the only way we'll ever know the truth is to draw it out of her. The truth? Everything goes back to the SL9 incident. Don't be stupid. Today's the last day of the trial. We don't have time to reminisce about the past. Depends on you. If he's found guilty, you'll lose your only chance to find out what really happened. I'll think about it. See you in court, Wright. This is it. If I'm ever going to find out what Chief Gant has on her, it's now. Court is now in session for the trial, Miss Lana Skye. The defense is ready, Your Honor. The prosecution is ready, Your Honor. Normally this is when the prosecution puts forth its opening statement. But before that, the police chief has a proposal to make. Chief Gant? How you? Morning, folks! How's everyone doing? Hey, Aji, been back to the pool yet? No, I've been drowning enough as it is in my work. Oh, that's a good one. Don't think I can top that. You don't mind me asking, Chief, what exactly is this proposal of yours? Lana, that is to say the defendant, has asked me if she could speak directly to the court. She wants to do what? Having heard what she intends to say, I feel she should be granted her request. In the end, it should save everyone a lot of time and trouble. What's this all about, defendant? I'd just like to make one simple request, and I'll be finished. Well then, what's your request? Your Honor, I'd like you to put an immediate end to this trial. Huh? I confess to all charges against me. On February 21st of this year, I murdered Detective Bruce Goodman in the underground parking lot of the prosecutor's office. No, Lana! You can't! Your Honor, the defendant's claim does not change the defense's plea. In that case, Mr. Wright, I no longer require your services. But Lana! Your Honor, I hereby forfeit my right to an attorney. The prosecution may lack direct evidence against me, but it has sufficiently proven its case through testimony and circumstantial evidence. I would like you to render your verdict now, if you please. Well, the defendant certainly has a right to self-representation. Her request is legally valid, and although this is an unprecedented situation, indeed, it appears there's no further need to continue his trial. Even if Mr. Wright may feel otherwise. This can't be happening. It appears the time for the verdict has arrived. The court finds the defendant. Objection! One moment, Your Honor.
Mr. Edgeworth?
The prosecution has not yet proved the defendant guilty beyond reasonable doubt. Any ruling at this stage would certainly be premature. Come now, Worthy. I understand this is a difficult time for you, but why don't you just be a good little boy and keep your mouth shut, I don't think I care for your tone, Chief Gant. What? Creating another fabrication to cover up your past mistakes. Sorry, but I'm no longer the naive little boy you would have me be. With this sudden confession from the defendant, it's obvious, to me, some kind of deal was struck behind the scenes. Some kind of deal, And not everyone operates as you do, Worthy. I thought so. Your Honor, the prosecution would like to change its first witness.
Oh? To whom?
As its first witness, the prosecution would like to call Miss Emma Skye. I request the court hears her testimony. Mr. Edgeworth, I am exercising my right to self-representation. I don't think we need to I don't care what you think, Miss Skye. The exposure of truth sometimes results in tragedy. However, no matter how tragic the truth may be, it would be an even greater tragedy to avert one's eyes from it.
Very well, and the court shall grant the prosecution's request. Is that okay with you, Chief Gant?
Worthy, you'll live to regret this, mark my words. Miss Emma Skye, please take the stand. Looks like Edgeworth has decided to take the horse by the reins. Now then, witness, please state your name and occupation. My name is Emma Skye. My occupation? I'm Lana's little sister, and I want to become a scientific investigator. 2 years ago, you encountered the serial killer Joe Dark of the Joe Dark killings. Is this correct? Yes. I'm trying my hardest to forget about that, though. I'm sorry, but I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask you to recall those events one more time.
Mr. Edgeworth, please remember this trial concerns the murder of Detective Goodman. Is an incident that was resolved 2 years ago really all that relevant?
Yes, it most certainly is.
Well, okay then.
You sure gave in fast. Now, please testify about what happened to you 2 years ago. The trip to yesterday has finally begun. It's bound to lead to the truth behind this trial. Okay. I was waiting in my sister's office that day. A man came running in and took me hostage. Neil Marshall rescued me, but I'll never forget what I saw that instant. The man raised up his knife and stabbed Mr. Marshall in the chest. He was stabbed in the back.
It's a good thing you weren't harmed.
I passed out. I don't remember much.
That's understandable. However, please tell me, Mr. Edgeworth, what does this testimony have to do with Detective Goodman's murder?
That will soon become apparent, Your Honor. Gotta admire him for his courage, considering he has no evidence.
Very well. The defense may begin its cross-examination.
2 years ago. Okay. 2 years ago, the defendant was a detective at the police department, correct? Yes, she was second in command under Chief Detective Gant. My sister, she was the best detective ever.
Yes, I remember. Chief Detective Gant and Miss Skye used to be quite the pair.
I believe they shared the same office. That's right. I'd always sit at my sister's desk and dream about playing that organ. I wanted to play it that day, too. The police department and the prosecutor's office held a ceremony that day. Lana promised me to take me to dinner after she finished her work. man? Yeah, Joe Dark. He was a serial killer. Joe Dark was brought in for questioning on the day of the ceremony. We were desperate to get anything on him that would lead to an arrest.
When he saw his chance, he fled the room, right?
On fleeing the room, Dark proceeded to take the elevator. He must have been in a panic because the elevator was going up. Then he ran into Sky and Gant's office. There was a lot of noise coming from outside, so I opened the door to have a look. That's when I saw him. Neil Marshall rescued me, but I'll never forget what I saw. Oh, oops. What was the prosecutor doing there? That day, there were two people present during Dark's questioning. Detective Damon Gant and Prosecutor Neil Marshall. Gant was there too? Neil Marshall had just received the King of Prosecutors Award. Young and dedicated, he went straight to the questioning room after the ceremony.
I assume that would also be why he was the first to run after Dark.
When Dark grabbed me, I thought I was as good as dead. And that's when Prosecutor Marshall came running in. I don't clearly remember what happened then, but... Can you tell us about that? Mr. Marshall jumped on Dark. Just then the lights went out.
The lights?
It was just about this time of year. There was a terrible storm going on, and lightning struck nearby. So the electricity went out.
Wait a minute. If it was pitch dark in that room, you shouldn't have been able to see anything, right?
Right, but just then lightning flashed again outside. That sudden flash left an unforgettable image on the scene of the scene in my mind.
I see.
I told the detective about what I saw then. The detective? Yes, Detective Goodman. He was in charge of the case.
Detective Bruce Goodman, the victim.
So you spoke with Detective Goodman about this 2 years ago? Yes, that's what's so scary about this trial. And you told Detective Goodman about what you saw? Yes, but at the time, the words just wouldn't come out. That's why I drew a picture.
A picture?
Yeah, I think she mentioned that before.
Well, Mr. Wright, have you heard enough?
This picture with the witness that the witness drew, I believe it has a very important meaning. But the list of evidence I was given 2 years ago didn't contain a picture.
Witness, would you mind if we added the statement to your testimony?
Yes, Your Honor. Well, we have the picture. Seems to have been lost. It wasn't lost. You drew a picture of the scene you witnessed, right? Yes, I wanted to do everything I could to help the investigation. I can still see it now, whenever I close my eyes. That's strange. I took over the case after Prosecutor Marshall died, yet I never received any picture. Perhaps the witness is mistaken? But I did draw it, I swear. I'm not just imagining it. This picture that Emma drew, that reminds me. Guess I should check the evidence again. Well, anyway, let's continue. This scene that imprinted the image on your mind, can you please describe it to us? Man. Nope. I know it. I probably should press everything else, but I think I got what I need. Yeah. Mr. Edgeworth, this little girl put all her heart into drawing that picture. And yet you still insist on denying its existence? Huh? Hey, I'm not the bad guy. All I'm saying is that as the prosecutor for that case, I wasn't handed such a picture. That may well be, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Behold.
This is the evidence list for the SL9 incident.
Please turn it over, Your Honor.
Turn it over? Turn it... Ah! What's this?
Yes, what is that? Hey! That's it! That's the picture I drew!
Indeed. Two men appear to be wrestling here.
What's the meaning of this? What are you doing with that list? Me? Only the prosecutor in charge should have access to that list.
Huh? These lists, they're different from each other?
What?
It would appear, Mr. Edgeworth, the evidence list you were handed 2 years ago was incomplete. These two lists fit together to form one. You can see the marks here where they were torn apart from each other.
So you see, Mr. Edgeworth? It's quite obvious what happened. 2 years ago, only half of the evidence in that case ever reached you. What? What?
Order! Order! Who'd have thought the picture would have been drawn on the back of the list?
It feels like they're talking so slow today. That was handed to Detective Goodman in the questioning room. Wait a minute. If this list was torn in half, then that means there's something that incriminates Gant. Your Honor.
Are you alright, Mr. Wright? Your eyes are bulging from your head.
If the evidence list was torn in half, then there might be more of the drawing on the back of Mr. Edgeworth's list.
Yes, that's quite conceivable, Mr. Edgeworth.
It's possible. Let's see.
Is something wrong?
You even have to ask? Edgeworth? Sorry, Your Honor. There is something drawn on the back of my list. This is that thing. The blue badger?
And that's that thing. That thing that was dancing in the evidence room.
Apparently the head of criminal affairs used this for his blueprint. Guess he was out of scrap paper. Evidence list has been updated.
Very well. Witness, will you please testify about this picture you drew 2 years ago?
Huh? Oh, yes, sir, Your Honor. What's wrong with Emma? She seemed to be thinking about something when she saw that picture. This is the picture I drew 2 years ago. The flash of lightning was so bright, all I could see were shadows. For that, I must have fainted. This picture shows exactly what I saw that instant. So, you didn't see dark.
To think a flash of lightning could burn such an image in your mind.
Thanks to that, though, she was able to show us exactly what she saw.
Well, I don't see any contradictions here. This clearly shows Joe Dark about to murder prosecutor Neil Marshall. The defense may now begin its cross-examination.
Oh, sorry, one sec. Oh shit. Well, that's annoying. I think the power cord on my laptop finally gave up the ghost. I gotta get a new one. Oh well. This is the picture I drew 2 years ago. The flash of lightning. Oh, right. Did you draw this picture right after the incident? I think I drew it 2 or 3 days later. At first, I was in such a state of shock that I couldn't do anything. During that time, the detective team was reorganized. Detective Goodman was placed in charge, under the direction of Damon Gant and Lana Skye. 2 or 3 days later. Memory should have still been fresh in her mind.
Excuse me, witness. But can you please tell us why this picture is painted all black?
Because she couldn't see anything. So at the time, you didn't even know it was Mr. Marshall who had come to your rescue? No, I couldn't see him clearly. The lightning was so bright, and I was knocked to the floor. You were knocked to the floor? Dark had a tight grip on me, but when Mr. Marshall jumped on him, I was knocked away. I turned around, and that's when the lightning flashed.
Poor Emma. I'm just glad she wasn't hurt. What happened after the lightning flashed?
You mean you didn't see the actual murder take place? No. I'm sorry. The flash of lightning only drove off the darkness for a split second. Not only that, but the trauma of the situation understandably caused the witness to faint. Do you really need to torture this girl any further? What? Hey, I'm not the bad guy here. Anyway, this picture. Sorry for asking so many times, but are you sure you drew exactly what you saw? Of course! This is the exact scene! It wasn't influenced in any way from your talks with the detectives? Are you insinuating we somehow manipulated her memory, Mr. Wright? No, of course not. Better watch out, or he might find some way to cut my salary. I drew this picture before I heard anything from the detectives, so I don't think anyone's story would have influenced me.
Mr. Wright, is there something that's bothering you about this picture?
Huh? Oh, well... It's strange. She claims this is exactly the scene that was imprinted in her mind, and yet there's clearly a contradiction here. Yeah, she can't identify either of the people. Okay, all you could see were shadows. I'm trying to think if the blue badger head is indicative in any way of the of Gant. Like, is that something he was wearing, or like part of his outfit? Yeah, I wanna try and find something that indicates that she couldn't see anything. Sense death. Okay, no, there's nothing in the incident files. Stable jar, evidence locker, rubber glove, evidence room floor plans, good lost item, screwdriver, fingerprinting set, D card, luminol, switchblade. Alright. Okay, no. Your Honor, what do you think about the witness's statement? Yada yada yada. Clearly, contradicts the, thought. Yeah, I was hoping that, if I said the knife, then, I might call her out on not being able to identify the knife. Okay, so, got the blue badger head, but I don't think that really qualifies. clear handprint can be seen on the leather cloth. Print belongs to Emma. I think I'll keep this information to myself. Yeah, I want to know what that symbol is. I don't see anything on Gant that could, like, match the symbol. There's the 3 little dots, but mainly the thing that stands out about him is, like, his weird cross-shaped, like scarf or tie or whatever. So... I must have fainted. You must have fainted? I did ask about that, right? Yeah. Shows exactly what I saw that instant. Exactly what she saw that instant. Well, what about the other half? That's all shaded in too. So... Fuck, this one... yeah, that's strange, yada yada yada. So... Flash of lightning was so bright all could see were shadows. I feel like this is the statement I need to press on, but... everything else... yeah. But this also feels... It's not exactly a contradiction, but still, it's... It's not a contradiction, but it feels wrong, but I don't really know how to call it out. So, let's see. Okay, so we have the picture, wait. The weapon found in wound was missing tip. The way she drew it as a block. So the weapon was already missing its tip. Was it? Because you figure if she saw a knife, she would have drawn, you know, a knife, but she drew a blunt end. I tried the knife earlier. I can't remember which statement I tried it on. I think I tried it on the other one. Let me try try the autopsy report, because this says the knife tip was in the wound. Single stab wound piercing heart and lung. Died from blood loss in under 10 minutes. Weapon found in wound was missing tip. Yeah, and this looks like it's missing its tip. Oh god. Oh, that was a weird one. Hate to be the bearer of bad news, but the picture this witness drew contains a blatant contradiction. What? But I still remember it like it was just yesterday.
Mr. Wright, perhaps it would be faster if you simply pointed out this contradiction for us. What part of this picture contradicts the autopsy reports?
What contradicts? Well, the fact that he's got a blunt knife. The contradiction, of course, lies here. Take a look at the knife the man is holding. If you look closely, you can see its tip is broken.
In fact, you don't even have to look closely to see that.
But Mr. Wright, look at the evidence. See, the murder weapon? Its tip is broken too.
If I recall, the tip of the knife was found broken off in the victim's body.
It was the conclusive piece of evidence that proved Joe Dark was the murderer. I'm afraid it's not so simple, Emma. Huh? Where could you possibly see a problem? It's obvious, really. The victim suffered a single stab wound to the back, and she said the chest earlier. If the victim was only stabbed once, then the murder weapon should not yet be broken.
Ah, and what's the meaning of this?
Perhaps the knife was broken beforehand. Sorry, but I'm afraid that's not possible. The tip of the knife was found inside the victim's body. If it was broken beforehand, it couldn't possibly wind up there.
That's right, but what does this mean?
The tip of the knife was undeniably discovered within the victim's body. The only possible explanation is the witness's memory is mistaken. Objection, objection, objection! That's why I asked her so many times if she was sure she remembered correctly. I believe you were annoyed at the time, but she was sure she remembered correctly. But there's no way to explain this inconsistency. Objection! Not so fast, Mr. Edgeworth. There is another explanation. Have you forgotten already? About a little something called falsified evidence? You're treading on thin ice, Wright. All I'm saying is that this broken knife might be the piece of evidence that was forged. You can't deny the possibility. No. Ah!
Order, order, order! Are you saying the investigation really was corrupted?
Your Honor, please allow me once again to go over the events that took place the day of the murder. The police department and the prosecutor's office were holding a ceremony that day. After receiving the King of Prosecutors Award at the ceremony, Neil Marshall questioned Joe Dark along with Damon Gant. During his questioning, Joe Dark fled the room. Prosecutor Marshall chased after him and was killed by Dark. It is my belief that somewhere in this story, there is a lie. I'm not lying. The man really was holding up a broken knife. If that's true, then there's no other way around it. This could not have been the actual murder weapon. There must have been another broken knife.
What are the chances of there being two broken knives?
A broken knife besides Joe Dark's. Would there have been one? Is there another one? If the witness is this adamant about the accuracy of what she saw, it can't just be explained away by simple observational error. Mr. Wright. In that instant, Emma really did see a broken knife.
I assume, then, that you have some information about this other broken knife? If so, please feel free to enlighten us.
The murder weapon was already broken prior to the murder. There's only one way. Take a look at this. Here's the real murder weapon. Edgeworth's knife? Oh. If anything's broken here, it's you. Huh?
I'm sure this must have all been very amusing to you.
Oh, well...
But may I remind you that the fate of Miss Lana Sky hangs in the balance?
But it's the knife off the thing. It got abolished because he tore the freaking thing off. Here's a real murder weapon. Yeah, two years ago, the halberd was removed against behest. Was it somewhere in here? No? Guys, I know the weapon. Do I present the photo? Alright. Real quick. Also, thanks, Sprawl. The answer lies in the past. 2 years ago in the past. Right here inside this picture. This is a picture of the award ceremony.
What is it, Mr. Edgeworth?
Hey, Keen. It's the broken murder weapon. Notice the award Prosecutor Marshall is holding. That's a broken knife. As we earlier concluded, the knife in the picture was not Joe Dark's knife. That being the case, the knife the witnesses saw was in all likelihood this award.
Order, order, order.
Neil Marshall was awarded King of Prosecutors that day. As an award, he was given this broken shield and a broken knife. When he chased after Joe Dark, he pulled out this knife. Being a prosecutor, he did not carry a pistol. But this broken knife was the only weapon he had in this dangerous situation. But that can't be. Oh? Why not, Mr. Edgeworth? Because if the King of Prosecutors Award knife was the murder weapon, then the murderer and the victim would be reversed. What do you mean? I mean... this man raising a knife would have been Prosecutor Neil Marshall. Oh. Oh! Phoenix, come on, dude.
But the prosecutor was the one who actually died.
It's true. What's going on here? It seems Mr. Wright had been a bit too eager to jump to conclusions. Wait! I remember now! I remember everything!
Witness?
Mr. Edgeworth. What is it? Could you show me your evidence list again, please?
His list? The one with that picture scribbled on the back?
I knew it! This picture. I'm the one who drew it. I kinda figured that. It's shaded the same way. What? You drew that? That's right. The list wasn't torn in half at the time I drew this picture. All this time I've been trying so hard to forget. I must have locked this part away deep inside me.
Perhaps it would be best if we added this to the witness's testimony. Would you please tell us what you recalled, Miss Sky?
Yes, Your Honor. First the knife mix-up. Now the blue badger? Oh, this should be interesting. Alright, what do we got? When I saw that man raise his knife, I panicked and rushed toward both of them. I think I knocked away the man with the knife. Just then there was another flash of lightning, and that's when I saw the blue badger. He wasn't in the room, but I'm sure I saw his shadow. You saw his shadow?
This is certainly most unusual.
Try impossible? The head detective of criminal affairs didn't even design him until this year. That would mean he didn't even exist 2 years ago.
Yes, well, the defense may now be...
Stop! Please! Don't pursue this any further! Lana?
What's the meaning of this? Please remain seated in the defendant's chair.
But you can't do this! I've already confessed to the crime! Why can't you just leave it at that? Chief Prosecutor Sky. We've already come to this far. It's too late to turn back.
Silence. The defense will now begin its cross-examination. Bailiff, please detain the defendant.
It seems we're finally getting to the core of the matter. Alright. When you say that man, I assume you refer to Joe Dark? Yes, at least I think it was him. You think? All I could really see were shadows. The power outage that immediately preceded the incident is also documented in the prosecutor's office reports.
So then you...
I panicked. Why would you do something so dangerous? What else could I have done? He was about to stab Mr. Marshall. She seems convinced that Dark was the one holding the knife. But as we've just theorized, Mr. Marshall was the one holding the knife. Well, I didn't know that at the time. When that Dark guy knocked me down, all I could think was, I've got to help Mr. Marshall. What do you mean, you think? It all happened so fast, and I was in shock. I don't remember everything clearly. What I did, it's all kind of a blur. In a matter of just a few seconds, Miss Skye was almost killed. Then she witnessed a murder about to take place. A little disorientation was only natural. I saw the man about to stab the other person, who I thought was Mr. Marshall. I knew I had to stop the man with the knife.
What you did was very brave, young girl. So then, what happened next?
Just then there was another flash of lightning, and that's when I saw the blue badger. Are you sure about this? Of course. See? I even drew a picture of him here.
But the head detective of criminal affairs thought up this hideous beast.
That was just this year. The blue badger didn't exist 2 years ago. This is all quite verifiable. I know it sounds strange. I was surprised too when I saw him at the police department. I had this nagging feeling that I'd seen him before somewhere. Yeah, she did say that. Now I finally remember. Oh, brother. Just when you thought that thing had caused enough commotion.
Tell us, where in the room did you see him dancing?
She saw him outside. He wasn't in the room. She saw his shadow. Shadow? You mean you didn't actually see his face with its winning smile and all? That's right, but I still remember it. He had 3 creepy horns. This is pointless. That thing couldn't have possibly existed 2 years ago. The witness must be mistaken. That may well be. But what's important is that what caused her to think she saw what she did. Oh, and I suppose you have an explanation? If so, then by all means, please tell us what this shadow really was. What was it Emma saw when that lightning flashed? Who is this blue badger really? Was it Lana? Was it Lana outside the window somehow? Because she was also the first to arrive on the scene afterwards. Blue badger hadn't been dreamed up when Emma drew this picture. Yet she's certain she saw its shadow. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the defense's belief that on the fateful day 2 years ago, there indeed was something that looked similar to the blue badger. Something that is now sitting in this very room. Mr. Wright.
In this room? Very well, Mr. Wright. What is it that the witness saw in that instant? Please show us this mysterious blue badger look-alike.
Okay, So... Well, there were no details in there. Something that... Fucking second. Wait a second. No, 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 no. Oh my fucking god. Oh my fucking god. The mysterious blue badger was in fact this.
But that's... And what exactly is that?
I believe it's some sort of jar. But Mr. Wright, that doesn't look anything like the blue badger. Emma? Emma, did you ever look down at it? Indeed it doesn't. As it stands now, it's just a plain jar. However, what if we were to change our viewpoint?
Our viewpoint?
Gotta show them the correct angle to look at this from. Oh, this is right. I've gotta make it more... No! Allow me to remind the defense its case hinges on the witness's drawing. If Mr. Wright can't make the shape... I'm getting there, dude! I find just the right angle. Vertically a bit more, or horizontal. Come on. Phoenix, it... Okay, so... Like that? Oh, that isn't right? Oh, come on! You guys see it? Okay. Okay, it's not directly up and down. Alright, so... We had that. Like that. There we go. Well, is this a miracle or what? No one can possibly deny this jar's resemblance to the blue badger. Imagine, like, Phoenix just kind of angling it towards the judge and Edgeworth, just going like, no, seriously, believe me, look.
Order. The defense has proven its claim. The mysterious blue badger witnessed on the day of the crime was actually this.
Although we all enjoyed Mr. Wright's dramatic performance, one question remains. What's your point? What do you mean? So that blue badger thing was actually just a jar. That doesn't change anything. It changes... Like, it was in the air, Edgeworth. Someone chucked that thing. I'm afraid that's where you're wrong, Mr. Edgeworth. You see, this changes everything.
Indeed.
Very well then. Please tell us. What's different now that we know the witness saw this jar? Allow me to take these in turn. At the moment of the murder, the witness saw this jar. Not only that, but she saw it at a very specific angle. Knowing this, where could she have seen this jar?
Where?
The location of the jar is shown in a picture taken on the day of the crime. It's on a shelf in the office of Damon Gant. But the body was found lying near Lana Sky's desk. The witness testified so herself. Yes, and it is these two facts that reveal what actually transpired. You see, the struggle between Dark and Marshall did not take place in Lana Sky's office. It happened on the other side of the room, in Chief Gant's office. Are you implying the murderer moved the victim's body from Damon Gant's office to the Lana Sky's office? Yes. Why would he do that? There's no reason. Exactly. If there wasn't a reason, he wouldn't have gone through the trouble. The only logical conclusion is that there was a reason.
Do you know what that reason was, Mr. Wright?
I only figured it out now. So this is why Lana tried to stop the trial. It's too late to quit now, though. Please recall the witness's testimony. She said she knocked away the man who was holding up the knife. In the next instant, the jar was hit and flew through the air. Now tell me, what could have sent the jar flying?
That would have been the impact the man made when he was knocked into the wall.
Ladies and gentlemen, if I may draw your attention to this picture once more. If the man was knocked in the direction of the shelf the jar was sitting on, what would he have hit?
The suit of armor, holding a very sharp and dangerous-looking sword.
Yes. And since the man who was knocked into the armor was carrying a broken knife, he would have had to have been Neil Marshall, wielding the prosecutor's award. No. Mr. Wright, you can't be thinking. Yes. There is another possibility of what actually transpired in that room.
Another possibility?
Of course the perpetrator would have had no idea, but nevertheless. I don't know if I can go through with this. Phoenix, come on, dude. Spit it out.
Mr. Wright, what's the matter?
Events took place in defense as the defense theorizes, then the outcome is obvious. In that moment, assuming the man Emma Skye knocked away was actually Prosecutor Neil Marshall. Oh, damn. You mean Mr. Marshall died because of me? No! Oh dear. That's a pisser. Never imagined her testimony would lead to this.
So it was the witness who took the victim's life, then proved so with her own testimony. This is unprecedented.
Broken, clearly you've never played Legacy of Kain Defiance. There's a lot of spiky bits just left out there. What are you saying? I'm sorry, Miss Skye, but given the circumstances, Joe Dark murdered Prosecutor Marshall. How can you think it was Emma? How dare you try to pin the crime on her? Imagine that, coming from you. If you recall, it was you who admitted to forging evidence 2 years ago. The reason you moved Prosecutor Marshall's body was to keep anyone else from finding out what Emma didn't, wasn't it? I assure you, Mr. Edgeworth, I have no idea what you're thinking. If you hope to have anyone believe your insane allegations, I'm afraid you're going to have proof. Tell me, do you have any conclusive evidence that proves my sister killed Neil Marshall? Evidence? I'm willing to bet you don't.
Yes, it certainly would be difficult to prove this with evidence.
If we don't have evidence, then we'll have to rely on testimony. I'm afraid that won't work in this case. Both parties involved in the incident are dead. You certainly can't get dead people to testify. If this has all been a wild goose chase from the beginning. Touché, Miss Skye. Of course, that only leaves us with one possibility. You mean there's still another possibility? Phoenix!
What do you mean, Mr. Edgeworth?
I mean the possibility that the victim has left us a message. For better or for worse, Mr. Marshall did not die instantly. He may have left behind the name of the person who took his life. Somehow. That's impossible!
Well, Mr. Wright, this is the only possibility left to you.
Oh no.
A message from the deceased. Does such a message exist?
Wright just pulls out the thing that says Maya. He kept it from the very first trial, or second trial. Gotta think back to the court record. The real murderer's name that the victim may have left behind. I know where it is. I know where it is. This message from the deceased is already in our possession. Mr. Wright, will you stop at nothing to prove my sister a murderer? Do not be mistaken, Miss Skye. Our purpose is not to accuse Emma of any crime. There is only one thing we seek. The truth. No matter how painful it may be.
Now then, Mr. Wright,
I love how he slams his gavel constantly, but rarely to actually say anything like judgy. It's just, I'm hitting my gavel. Okay, next guy.
Please show us the piece of evidence that conveys a message from the deceased.
The message was something that we couldn't place earlier. Yeah. Now, this had a whole bunch of blood on it, but we couldn't figure out what the blood was. I want to double check. So, it being a message from the deceased, it has to be written in blood. The only thing we have with a bloody picture, or with a thing on it, I'm not counting the strip of cloth because the handprint, that doesn't make sense. Because the handprint would have to be from someone else, who collected it. I'm guessing Lana took the print. Or, no, Gant took the print, because Gant used that as his blackmail, and he kept the shard with the writing on it, in the locker so that no one so Lana couldn't go against him. He had two pieces of evidence. This is the message left by the deceased.
This is that blue badger from before, right?
No. I didn't... Oh, is he just going to speak the killer's name? If that thing could, I'm sure it would. Looks like everyone's forgotten this is just a jar. Oh, okay. They're just all idiots. A message was left here, on the surface of this jar.
What do you mean?
If you look closely, you can see a faint trail of blood on the jar. It looks like someone wiped the blood away. Yes, but notice, for some reason, the blood on some of the fragments was not wiped away.
Yes, there was a line here, drawn in blood.
So what you're saying is these dots were once lines. Prosecutor Marshall did not die instantly. He used the few precious moments left to him to leave behind a message. He called out that little bitch who pushed him. I'm sorry, Emma. One that someone apparently wiped away. The blood must have seeped into the jar where the lines changed directions. Precisely so. All we need to do is connect these points, and the victim's message will become apparent. No.
Mr. Wright, what kind of message did the victim leave for us?
Your Honor, I believe these bloodstains will reveal to us an answer. How to connect these dots to make letters. There's only one thing the victim would have written, given the circumstances. The murderer's name. Can I actually draw blood? Okay, so... Jesus, Marshall, could your handwriting be a little bit better? I know you were bleeding out, but still. So... was that not it? Oh. It's a defense attorney's duty to prove his client's innocence. That's why all I've been thinking is about saving Alana. After all my efforts, I never thought it would turn out like this. Emma. So this is the final message Prosecutor Marshall left behind.
Of all people, she may not have meant it, but in the end, the one who took the victim's life
was Emma Skye. Yeah, it's manslaughter. It was accidental. But Gant was still blackmailing Lana. See, Worthy, can't say I didn't warn you. Oh, you. The fucking Castlevania-ass music. Chief Gant, do you understand the implications of what you've done? What? What are you talking about? 2 years ago, Joe Dark was sentenced to death. he was convicted because of his final murder. I believe you were the prosecutor in the case, were you not? Yes, Worthy. Because of you, an innocent man was sentenced to death. Not only that, but you used forged evidence to ensure his conviction. Joe Dark really was a serial murderer. That's undeniable. Well, no evidence was found of the other killings. I'm afraid that's not important. Didn't you know? We aren't defenders of justice. What? We're merely keepers of the law. Sentencing a man to death is no light matter. Even if there wasn't any cover-up or evidence forgery, ultimately the responsibility falls on the prosecutor in charge. Oh, that's nice of you to shift the blame. Despite what anyone may say, this fact cannot be denied. Oh, Gant, you fucking weasel. What's going on at the prosecutor's office? They might have sent an innocent man to his death? How can he just stand there like it wasn't his fault? Well, it wasn't his fault. Order! 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 It wasn't his fault. He was literally given fake evidence, or forged evidence. And he wasn't informed that it was. Gava's pounding fell on deaf ears. Unable to settle the crowd, the judge declared a recess. Where this trial is headed, no one knows. Okay, so, well, we've been able to, we can prove that Emma committed manslaughter, but I'm not really sure how we can tie Gant to it. Like, we have the evidence that he kept, he kept. Sorry, Edgeworth. I didn't mean to get you in trouble. Don't worry about it. This is my problem, not yours. I hope I'm not interrupting anything, pals. Oh, I guess I am. I'll come back later. Oh, Detective Gumshoe, what is it? Oh, he always looks like he just kind of, like, sulks in interview. Oh, you got a lot of nerve, pal, making a detective run all around while on duty. And to top it off, you call me here. I've seen happier people at funerals. Hey, this sounds familiar. I take it Lana's having you run errands again? Now let me tell you, this is the last time, pal. Yeah, she asked me to give you this to you if there was a break in today's trial. Evidence law? Edgeworth was talking about this just the other day. I'm sure you know the 2 rules of evidence law, don't you, Wright? Rule number 1, no evidence shall be shown without the approval of the police department. Is that right, Mr. Wright? Seems so. You could at least study some evidence law, really. Oh, I guess she overheard. Now, the chief prosecutor also wanted me to give you a message. Message? Now, she said, if you're planning to take him on, you're gonna need this book. Him. I guess I'll need to give this book a thorough read. Securely slipped into pocket. It doesn't look like that book will do you any good now, though. All that's left now is the chief prosecutor's sentence. That's where you're wrong, detective. Huh? Haven't you figured it out yet? Why I'm still sitting in that prosecutor's seat, despite all the allegations being thrown at me? Oh, Mr. Edgeworth. The real trial today hasn't begun yet. What? What else is there left to do? Your credibility's been all but ruined with this forged evidence you were unaware of. Emma Skye found out she unwittingly caused a man's death. And now, you're telling me you want to do more? You gotta be kidding me, pal! You're missing the point, detective. Lana didn't murder Detective Goodman. She merely stuck a knife into his dead body. That means the real killer is still out there somewhere. What? We're gonna expose him. No matter what it takes. This case has hurt too many people. It's time to bring it to an end. Please, I'm ready for this to be over. Like you said earlier, Sprawl, I've had a lot of fun with this game, but this case has kind of dragged. The court will now reconvene for the trial of Miss Lana Skye.
Mr. Edgeworth?
Yes, Your Honor.
The Inquiry Committee is planning to impose harsh penalties for your actions.
Thank you for the news, Your Honor.
Yes, well... normally, this is where the prosecution calls forth a witness. But, this isn't easy to say. You see, there's some concern that Mr. Edgeworth may have,
struck a bargain. You think I may have manipulated the witnesses?
I didn't say that. It's just, you see, everyone has been talking and...
Very well, Your Honor. I have a solution.
A solution?
That being the case, the prosecution will allow the defense to call forth all further witnesses. Wow, yawning all of a sudden.
What? But there's never been a case example.
Undeniably, this is an unusual arrangement, but a very effective one. It would prove that I haven't struck any deals with the witnesses.
Well, Mr. Wright, what do you say?
Unbelievable. Edgeworth has found a way to continue the trial. Very well. The defense accepts the prosecution's proposal.
And then it's settled. The defense may now call forth the next witness.
Mr. Wright? You do realize this is your last chance. If you call the wrong witness, this trial is as good as over. The defense calls... Time's finally come to bring out the real murderer. Wait, we're going for Gant already? Oh, okay. Safety save. Damon Gant. The defense calls Damon Gant to the stand.
Damon Gant? What does he have to do with anything?
As the defendant's partner 2 years ago, Mr. Gant has first-hand knowledge of the crime. I feel we should hear what he has to say about it. As luck would have it, he should still be here in the courthouse. He would also be the least likely to have been manipulated by me in any way. Wouldn't you agree, Your Honor?
True. Alright, bailiff, please escort Mr. Gant to the stand.
Witness, please state your name and occupation. What is this, some kind of practical joke? I was just on my way to lunch. Your name and occupation, sir? Worthy, are you sure you want to do this? Your name and occupation. So, you want to play hardball, eh?
Please, Mr. Gant.
Fine. My name is Damon Gant. I'm the acting chief of police. Now then, Chief Gant, the court requests to hear your testimony. Oh, righto, what's with the grim face? First, let's clear up this SL9 incident. Oh, you mean that time when Lana's sister murdered that prosecutor? Personally, I think it's been made pretty clear already. There are still some things unaccounted for. Oh? Like what? Like the role you played in all of this. Son, either you're very brave or very foolish. You are aware, of course, that a police chief has all kinds of weapons at his disposal. Weapons? Sure. Take my testimony, for example. I don't have to give it if I don't want to. What? Is that true?
I'm afraid so. The chief of police has the right to refuse to testify.
Fuck the police! Of course, such an action carries with it certain risks. Don't worry, I'm not here to hinder your trial. Just remember, if this turns out to be a big waste of time, don't say I didn't warn you.
Very well, and the witness may now begin his testimony.
As I recall, Neil and I were questioning him that day. To make a long story short, we slipped up. That power outage didn't help either. When I went to my office, I found Lana there. Apparently she had already arranged the crime scene. As you can see, I had nothing to do with the forgery.
Is that when Dark was arrested?
He was lying on the floor unconscious. When Emma sent Neil flying, it seems Dark bumped his head.
I see. Everything seems pretty clear-cut.
The police chief has the right to refuse to testify. Then I better hit him hard and fast. Okay, so gonna make a safety save, but it feels like they're warning me that pressing might be a bad choice, but I gotta see. As I recall, a ceremony was held at the police department that day. Yes, that's right. I guess you could say I'm a workaholic. After winning his award, Neil was all fired up too. That's probably what spooked Dark and made him run away like that. Was the defendant, Lana Skye, also present in the room? I don't quite remember. At the very least, she wasn't there when Dark ran for it. Okay, so pressing is fine. So the two of you ran immediately after him, right? That's right, but Dark made it to the elevator first. So Neil and I split up. He went upstairs, and I went downstairs. I guess you could say he got lucky. What's this about a power outage? Oh, that? The elevator stopped all of a sudden, and I got the shock of my life. Well, probably not as shocked as Neil was when that knife went through his heart, though. Dude, it's not funny. He's such an asshole. Like, at least, Van Hohenheim, was upfront with his assholery. This guy hides behind smiles. Could you tell us what you saw? It was a shocking sight. Neil and that serial killer were lying in a heap on the floor, all tangled together. Dark was also lying collapsed on the floor. Oh, Dark was also lying collapsed on the floor? Yes, apparently he hit his head and was knocked out. Next to them were those two poor girls, Lana and Emma. Lana was cradling Emma in her arms. Looking back at it now, she must have already known what her sister had done. Apparently she'd already arranged the crime scene. And you know that? Because of the victim's body. It had already been moved. So that means... you found the body near Lana's desk? That's right. I think you said earlier, it was my suit of armor that really stabbed the prosecutor. Yes. Anyway... She did good to move both bodies that quickly. So, I had nothing to do with the forgery. I'm calling bullshit on that. So you're saying that the forgery had already taken place by the time you arrived at your office? That's exactly what I'm saying. I can understand how Lana must have felt, but moving a body and hiding evidence are inexcusable no matter what the circumstance. Is that how it really went down? Staring at the witness won't do you any good, Mr. Wright. If you're going to stare at anything, you better be off staring at the court record. Worthy, always the smooth talker. But which piece of evidence ties Gant to the forgery? Lana did admit to forging evidence, but that can't be the whole truth. Somehow I've got to link Gant to the incident. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Gant was the one who moved the bodies. Power outage didn't help either. Already arranged the crime scene. Yeah, I'm calling bullshit on that. So... died from blood loss in under 10 minutes. Yeah, she would have had to work very hard to, I wish I could see the other half of the evidence, the other side of the evidence list. Let's see. Serial murder, sentence death. Lana Skye, Emma Skye, Damon Gant, Lana Skye. Security video, Marshall's prints, unstable jar, evidence locker, rubber glove, Goodman's lost items, screwdriver, fingerprinting set, ID card record, luminol, switchblade, victim's shoe. How did she get the switchblade in there? Like, did she just have that on her? Okay, I'm pretty sure the switchblade was his. Lana wouldn't have had a weapon. Because the knife was found in the victim. And Lana was a well, no, she was a detective. She had a pistol. Okay. So I'm still pretty sure that the problem is that that he moved the bodies. The witness. Oh fuck. Okay. Okay, that wasn't it.
Unfortunately, I will have to penalize you, Mr. Wright. Yeah, fuck you.
Nothing to do with the forgery. Okay, so did I get it on the wrong statement? Nothing to do with the forgery. I never did check this. What does it say? Rule 1. No evidence shall be shown without the approval of the police department. Unregistered evidence presented must be relevant to the trial, to the case in the trial. Nothing to do with the forgery. There's Emma Sky's prints. Okay, so he has Emma's prints for some reason. Let me try the knife again on this statement. If not, I'll try out the prints. Here we are. Okay, no, that isn't right. Okay. Boop boop. Let me see. I had nothing to do with the forgery. You didn't. Did you? You somehow got Emma's prints. Like, did you take those while she was unconscious? They were found in your safe. Objection! You really had nothing to do with the forgery. And how do you explain this?
What's that? And what's that on it? A handprint?
Chief Gant, your explanation, please.
I don't know. You tell me, son.
Huh? My dear Wright, don't you know the second rule of evidence law? Not this again. Evidence law. Rule 2. Unregistered evidence presented must be relevant to the case in trial. Tell me, how is that rag relevant to this trial?
It appears the defense was not prepared.
Guess it's too early to use this piece of evidence.
Please accept my profound apologies, Chief. Would you mind giving the defense another chance?
Well, okay, I'll do it just this once, but only because you asked, Dudgy.
Thank you. I assure you the defense is terribly sorry.
Yeah, sorry I didn't nail you. As I recall, Neil and I were questioning that. Okay, so... Found Lana there. So yeah, absolutely nothing to do with the forgery. Okay, so it feels like it was right, but maybe I needed to find something else first? must be relevant to the case in the trial. Do we have something else with Emma's prints? Fingerprinting set? Oops. Ooh. No, that's not it. Okay, I was hoping that I could show that it was Emma's prints. Do I have something else with Emma's prints? Let's see. Brought back to his office by Gant's request. What did this say? AI-16. It's written on the tag. That means it has nothing to do with the current case. Okay. It's from floor plans, rubber glove, videotape, victim shoe, crime photo, Lana's cell phone, victim's note, Edgeworth's knife, prosecutor trophy, autopsy report, victim's note, blue badger, parking stub. Why do I still have that parking stub? It's law. Neil's autopsy report. Okay, so, time to the crime. The jar was in his safe, same as the cloth was. No, not that. You were also falsifying the evidence list. You had half of it stolen. So these three items are the ones that like kind of connect him to this. Oh, good. You claim you had nothing to do with the forgery, but I'm afraid that is a claim you cannot back up. Explain yourself. Several pieces of evidence were found in your office. Take this list, for example.
That's the list Emma Skye drew on her picture on.
This was discovered in your desk. Not only that, but a piece of this jar was sitting in your office. It was found inside your safe.
It was found where?
You see, Chief Gant, these articles of evidence uncovered in your office are both concrete proof that you also played a part in this illegal investigation. The legal investigation.
Chief Gant, what's the meaning of this?
Oh, here's a defense attorney who may even rival Worthy. So you admit it then, that you were involved in the forgery? Who, me? Or do you mean you? Me? Why would I have anything to do with that? Well, you were the one who snuck into my office when you found this evidence. Prosecutors aren't the only ones capable of forging evidence, you know. Defense attorneys can do so too. Isn't that right, Righto? However, Detective Gumshoe was present during the investigation. Worthy, my boy. Not even detectives are exempt from the law. Rest assured, Dick will receive his due punishment. Oh no. What? Detective Gumshoe's salary drops any further, he'll end up paying to work.
Yes, well, in light of the detective's presence, please give us your testimony regarding these pieces of evidence found in your office, and the relation to the forgery that took place at the crime scene.
My. Kids these days no longer know how to put two and two together. Yeah, fuck you, dude. Let's see, what was it now? A jar fragment and a list? No. For all I know, you could have planted them in my office. Anyway, you can't prove when those pieces of evidence were discovered. If they were found after Dark was convicted, then they're worthless. There's no reason I'd participate in a forgery. Rearranging the crime scene wouldn't help me out in any way.
Mr. Wright,
Yes, Your Honor?
when investigating the crime scene, you should have been more careful to observe protocol.
You do understand that I am the Chief of Police, right? There will be consequences.
Oh,
Indeed. I believe I will press charges, so you won't make the same mistake again.
my apologies, Chief, but would you mind waiting until tomorrow for that? Today is, well, you know.
Alright, Aji. In return, though.
I know. That place, right?
Huh? Are these guys telepathic? Gonna go out drinking after this murder trial. Just have a grand old time. I'd appreciate it if you would stop making these ridiculous allegations. Yes, you do have a point. You wouldn't have the guts to do something like that. What? I'll have you know, back in the day, I once broke into a cattle ranch and tipped.
Mr. Wright, what are you saying?
Anyway, you can't prove you didn't carry in the evidence, can you? If you have proof to the contrary, you're going to need it later. Later? What are you talking about? Edgeworth, weren't you listening? What else? I'm talking about when your fingerprints are found. Yes, if they're found inside my safe, they would prove your investigation was illegal. Never faced anyone as slimy as this guy. What do you mean by that? This is all purely hypothetical, of course. But suppose I did place those items in my safe. Such an act wouldn't necessarily constitute forgery. No, it would constitute blackmail. Concealing evidence found at a crime scene isn't forgery. I'm not through speaking yet, Mr. Wright. It all depends on when the evidence was discovered. If they were found after Dark was convicted, then they're worthless. No. Statute of limitations and yada yada. 2 years. Are you saying the star fragment wasn't discovered in the initial investigation? It would appear not. After all, it wasn't listed in the evidence list. For all we know, it could have suddenly materialized the day after Dark was sentenced. Oh, and wouldn't that be convenient? Right? The Chief is talking about a possibility. So long as you can't rule that out, your remarks, however clever they may be, will only succeed in wasting time. Tell me something I don't know. Now, Mr. Wright. Think about it. There's no reason I'd participate in a forgery. Yes, there is. How can you look me in the eye and say that? Because I'm innocent. Checking something. Okay. Remember? Who was it that murdered Neil?
I'm not sure I care for the word murder here.
Because it isn't murder, it's manslaughter. It was an accident.
But in the end, the person responsible for Mr. Marshall's unfortunate demise was Emma Skye.
Well, now do you see? Rearranging the crime scene wouldn't help me out in any way. Oh, shit, Gant isn't the one who murdered Prosecutor Marshall 2 years ago. Yet I know he played a part in the forgery. That can only mean someone asked him to be an accomplice. Damon Gant. Someone's accomplice. That someone's unlikely. Yeah, like, who would have him be the accomplice? Okay. See, wouldn't help me out in any way. Oh, damn it. I went right past it again. Okay, so it wouldn't help you out in any way, except you became the chief of police. Really, Chief Gant? At the very least, there is one very large benefit you've reaped from all this. Oh, I wasn't aware. What is this benefit? That would, of course, be the position you have, Chief of Police.
Oh.
The resolution of the SL9 incident secured your promotion to chief. That in itself is a sufficient motive. Ho, 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 ho. Oh, that's a good one. Huh? Do you really think that I'm that incompetent? What do you mean? Even without that case, I was already in line to become the next chief. The resolution of SL9 merely sped up the inevitable a little. Is that true, Edgeworth? Yes, he was going to be made chief anyway. Oh, be careful when pointing that finger, or you might wind up being the one pointed at. So that means there's only one possible motivation for you to commit a forgery. If you didn't do it for yourself, then you did it for someone else. Did it for someone else. Don't be silly, Worthy. You know me better than that. What, did Lana ask him to hide the evidence? There are only 3 people I look out for. Me, myself, and I. There, it's out in the open now. Gee, would you mind if I change my testimony a little?
By all means, please do.
I wouldn't be anyone's accomplice if there was nothing in it for me. Nothing in it for you? Sorry, but the only person I care about is yours truly. That girl, Lana's little sister, was it? If you think I felt sorry for her, you'd better think again. You're right. You don't feel sorry for anyone. Be tough on crime and tough on people. That's how I was raised. You seem to be lax enough on yourself, though. Ho, ho, ho. Or is it ho, ho, ho? Oh, that's a good one, Worthy. There been something in it for him? Given his selfishness, would he have helped someone out? The game is leading me to point out the accomplice, but yeah, I would say no. True, you might not help out someone for their sake, but if it would benefit you, you might decide to assist someone.
Mr. Wright, it appears you're positively determined to portray the chief as a nice man who likes to lend people a hand.
It's not what I mean.
Very well, I'll ask. Who is this person you believe Chief Gant may have helped forge evidence?
Lana.
Chief Prosecutor Lana Sky? The defendant?
I believe it's quite obvious in light of the circumstances. Emma Sky fell victim to an unfortunate series of events. Who would want to help her more than her own sister, Lana? And as for Chief Gant, he would also have a reason to help Lana if she asked him to. That reason, of course, is self-profit. Self-profit?
What do you mean?
After the SL9 incident was resolved, Lana Sky was appointed Chief Prosecutor at the Prosecutor's Office. The person who arranged this job change was you, Chief Gant. Yeah, he had the Chief Prosecutor under his thumb.
But how would he profit from all this?
He would be able to use the Chief Prosecutor as his puppet. Essentially, he would acquire unchecked authority over all investigations.
Do you mean to tell me that despite the Chief's formidable appearance, he plays with puppets?
Judge! Pay attention!
Oh, wait, you must mean puppet as in someone forced to do his bidding. Never mind.
Admit it, Chief. You assisted Lana Sky in forging evidence. Your motive? To appoint her as Chief Prosecutor so you could control her. Right on, my boy? You're quite an imagination. Let me ask you something. What? Do you have any proof of this? That I controlled Lana? For example, is Lana testifying that I've done such a thing? Lana? She's keeping quiet to protect Emma. There's no way she'd testify against Gant.
I'm afraid without any proof, this all amounts to nothing more than mere conjecture.
Unless that is also what happened in this incident.
This incident? Or which one would that be?
Of course I'm talking about the current case. The murder of Detective Bruce Goodman.
The Chief Prosecutor's been
acting strange throughout this entire trial. Almost as if someone has been controlling her. Worthy, you'd better watch your tongue. I wouldn't want you to get hurt.
Just what do you mean?
What he means, Your Honor, is that Chief Gant is involved in the murder of Detective Goodman. Not only that, the Chief is now making Lana take the rap to cover up his involvement.
What? What?
Oh, 1 second.
Order! Order, order! I said order! Mr. Wright, you can't be serious.
Huh?
This is an affront to the highest-ranking officer in our law enforcement agency.
And fuck them all.
To accuse the chief of police of blackmail and murder.
Judge, that's not particularly rare.
That's impossible.
Your Honor, I was merely reiterating what Mr. Edgeworth said in easier-to-understand language. It's too late, Mr. Wright. There's no turning back for us now. Looks like he's the one who decided to go through with this.
Can you prove this, Mr. Wright? That the chief, a high-ranking officer of the law, is involved in murder?
Good question. Regardless of his rank or title, Chief Gant is just a man. The question is he a criminal? I believe the evidence will tell.
I see. Alright then. Show us this evidence that ties Chief Gant to the murder of Detective Goodman. Just remember, it better be good.
It's good. I got it.
Well, Chief?
So long as Mr. Wright is tossing— oh, fuck off. Mind if I toss something out too, Udgy? This shoe should do nicely. I'll chuck it right at you.
You always were quite the joker, weren't you?
Oops. It's like I got it wrong.
But don't oops me, or I'll be the one throwing my shoe next.
I know it's hard with all that with all that's gone on during the trial. Fuck, I got ahead of myself. I gotta tie him to Goodman, not Emma. But try to think back to what happened in the evidence room 4 days ago. Now that you mention it, we did find something out in yesterday's investigation. Something that proves Gant entered the room. Yeah, the ID card. Yeah. Sorry, I just...
Alright then. Show us this evidence that ties Chief Gant to the murder of Detective Goodman. Just remember, it better be good.
It is good, I just... yeah. All sevens. 7 sevens.
And this is the ID card list.
Yes, the one that shows who entered the evidence room on the day of the crime. There was one ID on the list we couldn't determine, the owner of yesterday. 7 sevens. Sorry, but there's no way you can prove that it's my card number. It's your number.
What? How do you know that?
The safe in Chief Gant's office requires a code to open. A 7-digit code.
7 digits? You don't mean...
I'm afraid so, Your Honor. The code was 7 sevens. The same as the remaining ID card number on that list. Really should have better password security. Chief Gant, you entered the evidence room on the day of the crime.
Order! Order! Chief Gant, what do you have to say?
Nothing. The defense's search of my office was in violation of regulations, and I will demand Mr. Wright be punished to the maximum extent of the law. But right now, this court demands an explanation from you about the use of this ID card.
Chief Gant, so you admit it? You entered the evidence room on the day of the crime?
What about it? I'm chief of police. Whether it's the evidence room or the bathroom. What's the difference? I can go anywhere I want. Tell me, when you entered the evidence room, were you alone? I always go to the bathroom alone, as I do with the evidence room. Detective Goodman wouldn't have happened to be with you that day, would he?
Of course not. Why would he be? I hadn't seen him in days.
You hadn't seen him in days? Chief Gant, I'm afraid you've just undone yourself. On that day, You had to have met with Detective Goodman. It was a ceremony.
What do you mean? This trial's purpose is to determine Lana Sky's guilt.
No, it isn't, Your Honor. This trial's purpose is to determine the truth. If Chief Gant met the victim on the day of the crime, then we need to determine one thing. What transpired during that meeting?
In that case, Mr. Wright, I'm gonna have to ask you for evidence. Show us proof that the victim went to meet Chief Gant on the day of the crime.
Boop. Okay, well, Please be right. No, it's gotta be something more solid than this. On that day, Detective Goodman had to go to see Chief Gant. Oh, shit. Oh. Okay, so, he had to go see Chief Gant, but what about, he didn't have his card. Where is it? Yeah, he couldn't remember his number. Detective Goodman lost his ID card on the day of the crime. Or to be more accurate, Jake Marshall stole it. So Detective Goodman filled out a lost item report. He would have had to give that report to the Chief of Police. Yet you are in possession of that report, which means you can't be sure if he filed it. He filed it. How do I know, you ask? Because he needed to enter the evidence room that day.
He needed to?
Yes, to transfer the evidence out.
Oh.
Detective Goodman took the form to you, Chief Gant. Then, you accompanied the detective to the evidence room. I accompanied him? There's no other way the murderer and Detective Goodman could have entered the room. Hold on, let me guess what you're going to say next. I, the Chief of Police, murdered poor Goodman. Exactly.
But wait, the Chief didn't necessarily need to accompany him to the evidence room. He could have just lent him his ID card.
Yes. Now that you mention it, I believe I might have done something of that sort. Sorry, but that's not possible. According to the record, your card was only used once. But you showed us your ID card earlier. If you had really lent it to Detective Goodman, it would have been found on his body. No! Oh, Jesus! I think we're dealing with Zeus.
Chief Gant, you didn't.
The murder was most likely committed on the spur of the moment. No one in their right mind would choose the police department as a place to commit murder. And he had Lana try to cover up the body. After the murder, you contacted Lana at the prosecutor's office. Why else? To dispose of Detective Goodman's body. However, the victim's body was discovered in the prosecutor's office parking lot. How did he manage to move it there? I was at the police department the entire day, you know. And everyone's aware that Lana stayed at the prosecutor's office after the ceremony. Everyone except me, it seems. Yet, still, you're the Chief of Police. You have an entire police force at your disposal.
Oh, so you think I just ordered an officer to do it?
Hey you, take this here dead body over to the prosecutor's office. I don't think so. Chief Gant, you left all the evidence we need to prove how you moved the body to the prosecutor's office. And all this time I thought it was a useless coup just taking up space.
The ticket stub? How could the Chief have moved the body? Mr. Wright, show us this evidence.
To move the victim's body, Chief Gant used this. The parking stub? This is how he moved Detective Goodman's body.
Parking stub? Miles Edgeworth.
You mean... The body was found in the trunk of Mr. Edgeworth's car. I think it's obvious what happened. Yeah, he broke the lock on the back of the trunk too. The body was moved by that car. You mean I carried the victim's body? Precisely so. But wait, even you know, I didn't plan on returning to my office after the ceremony finished that day. but you did return. Tell me why. I was asked to go. By Chief Gant, no less. He told me he wanted me to keep a screwdriver at the prosecutor's office. Some random screwdriver that didn't have any connection to the case. In any case, on the day of the incident, I brought this to the prosecutor's office. He just gave him some random piece of evidence to take over there. So you see, what you really took to the prosecutor's office wasn't the screwdriver, but the victim's body in your trunk.
Detective Goodman's body was carried in the trunk of Mr. Edgeworth's car.
Yes. Unless, of course, you have another explanation, Chief. Why else would you have asked Mr. Edgeworth to carry evidence from a closed case? There's only one plausible explanation. To transport the body to your accomplice, Miss Lana Skye.
Order! 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 What's going on here? Is there no room for rebuttal to the defense's outrageous accusations?
Think back to the photograph Miss Starr took at the prosecutor's office. There was no body. This was not a photo of the body being stuffed in the trunk to be taken away. It was exactly the opposite. It is a photo of the body being taken out of the trunk.
Chief Gant, please say something.
I believe... Your time's up.
My time's up?
Sorry, Righto, but I'm having lunch with the District Attorney General after this. We have to get going if we're gonna make it in time for the early bird special. No. But the cross-examination isn't finished yet. Remember what I told you earlier? A police chief has all kinds of weapons at his disposal. Weapons? Like the right to refuse to testify? I'm invoking that right now.
What? This is not a right to be casually invoked. There are certain risks to be considered.
So you're going to just run away after all this? Run away? Don't make me laugh, Worthy. I stabbed old Goodman. That's what you're saying, right? But if you had inconclusive evidence, you would have prevented it right now. Presented it. Yeah. Well, You think I had Lana dispose of the body? If so, then show your proof and get it over with.
I'll say it again, Mr. Wright. Damon Gant is the current chief of police. And this court will not tolerate any accusations against him without concrete proof. Well, Mr. Wright?
Your Honor!
Do you have any concrete proof? Proof that Chief Gant murdered Detective Goodman and made Miss Skye dispose of the body.
Do I have any concrete proof? I have some proof? I can't let him just squirm his way out of this. Got to keep the pressure on. Yes, Your Honor. I do have such evidence.
Then please hurry up and present it. Just remember, it better prove Chief Gant murdered Detective Goodman beyond a shadow of a doubt.
That's not my attorney's badge. Okay, so... What have we got? We have Edgeworth's knife. It was... it's... the thing that Lana stuck into the body to say was the murder weapon, but wasn't. We have the autopsy report. Also blood from chest wound. Wound was caused by a 12-centimeter knife. A single stab wound was found. The knife that Lana stuck in him was 10 centimeters. Victim's notes, the Lana cell phone, parking lot. Victim's shoe. Switchblade knife. The knife that is around 12 inches long. So, go with the autopsy report to start with.
So, what exactly is this evidence?
It's proof as to whether or not to demonstrate the chief's guilt. I'll let you be the judge.
But I am the judge.
Alright. Well, what do you think, Your Honor? Fuck off. Okay, so it's not the autopsy report, though. It's still. I've wanted to present that for so long. Okay, the word muffler was overheard. Switchblade knife. It's got blood on it. Fingerprinting set. Screwdriver. Lost item report. Evidence. Rubber glove. The evidence locker. The unstable jar. Marshall's prints. Security video. The SL9 incident files. Neil's autopsy report. It doesn't say the size of the knife. Evidence list. No. Strip of cloth. Edgeworth's knife. I'm gonna go with the other knife. So, what exactly is this evidence? It's proof. It's the wrong proof, though. So... Fuck it. There's nothing tying him to the murder directly. Like the only thing I could think of was the autopsy report. That's the only thing that's direct evidence of Goodman being killed with a different weapon. But I don't know. I can't think of anything. Like, there's none of the evidence I have proves like is a direct connection to Goodman and Gant. Besides that autopsy report, and even that's not really direct. Strip of cloth? No. That doesn't tie Gant to Goodman, that ties Gant to Emma. Literally nothing I have ties him. The rubber glove? So, what exactly is evidence? Fuck off. Just eat my ass. Right, well, what do you think, Your Honor?
I think you're wasting everyone's time. I'm gonna be late for my meal.
Guess it wasn't enough. Please, Your Honor, just give me a little longer to consider. Yeah, shut up. Your Honor? Do you have any concrete proof? I don't have any concrete proof. Are they asking me to get proof later? Fuck it, sure. Wait. Oop. I don't have any proof. It's no use showing evidence I'm not even sure of myself. No, Your Honor. Present, I have no conclusive evidence. See, Yaji.
In that case, this court is forced to penalize you for your allegations against the chief.
What? I don't gamble unless the stakes are high. It seems that Lady Luck was on my side again today. Okay, Edgy, I'll leave the rest to you. Fuck off, Gant. Oh my god.
I warned you earlier, Mr. Wright. This is an affront to a senior officer in our nation's law enforcement agency.
Lady Luck, Maybe we should have a word with her.
Mr. Edgeworth, what do you mean?
There's one lady who knows the real truth behind this trial. We haven't yet had the honor of hearing her testimony. Lady who knows the truth? Lana? In the absence of conclusive evidence, the only other method of proof is testimony. But Chief Gann has invoked his right to refuse to testify. There's still someone else. One more witness who can answer all the questions raised in this trial. Someone right in this very room.
Mr. Edgeworth, who is this person?
Why are you asking me, Your Honor? Have you forgotten? The defense is the one calling witnesses today.
Mr. Wright, does such a witness exist?
She may not be willing to tell the truth, but we can't just stop now. Yes, Your Honor. The defense calls forth Lana Sky. I call forth Angel Star.
The defendant, Miss Lana Sky?
She was in the underground parking lot at 5:15 p.m. on February 21st. Her task, to dispose of the victim's body. In accordance with a certain someone's orders.
Mr. Edgeworth?
The prosecution has no objections, Your Honor.
Very well. The court will now take its final recess for the day. In 15 minutes, we will reconvene to hear the defendant's testimony. This court is now in
Hold on! Huh? Chief Gann.
I thought you were going to eat.
Listen, good Lana. He's talking to Lana. I don't think you need me to tell you this, but if you accept Mr. Wright's claim, there will be terrible consequences. That's right. Your sister will be found guilty. For Neil Marshall's murder. She can't, though. It was an accident. Well, but he is chief of police, so fuck him. He could do that, probably. He can make shit up. Oh, this isn't good. Of course, you'd never support such outrageous claims anyway, right? Just something to think about. Alright then, I've got a lunch date to meet. Judge, he was threatening the witness.
Okay, if there aren't any further objections, this court is now in recess.
Judge. February 25th, 2:04 p.m. Fucking long trial. Like we managed to stay in the game. Yeah, thanks to your help, Edgeworth. That chief. He's something else, eh, pals? Detective Gumshoe. I'm not a detective anymore. Oh yeah, sorry about that. Don't worry. I've already decided where to work now. At your office. My office? Sure. I'll take the place that that top nut girl used to work with. You mean... Maya? Still. Looks like we're all out of moves now. Oh, is Gumshoe my new Maya? Is he gonna be by my side offering moral support? Chief Gant's done it again. How is it he always gets the upper hand? It's not fair he has the right to refuse to testify. Settle down, Wright. Remember what the judge said.
But Chief, that is not a right to be casually invoked. There are certain risks being considered.
I mean, well, societally, you could crush him. Like, he was on... these records could be publicly released. Risks? What do you mean by that? It's simple. If the chief of police refuses to testify, the opposite also holds true. You mean he forfeits his right to say anything too? Emma, are you okay? Yeah, when I came to, I was in the medical office. I've been listening to the trial from the gallery, so she heard everything that's been going on. Emma, I'm sorry for what I said before. No, don't be. It was the truth. You know, it's funny. I almost feel somehow relieved. Relieved? Yeah. Now I finally know what really happened. To think of that all this time. My sister was being blackmailed by that terrible man. She did it all, just to protect me.
Ever since her appointment as chief prosecutor, everyone who knew her said she changed. Perhaps it was easier that way for her.
And what do you mean?
What do you think I mean? To follow Chief Gant's orders, she must have shut herself up deep inside, to force herself to do anything and everything the chief told her to do. Must be why she became so cold.
It was all my fault. It's all because I murdered Mr. Marshall. Hey, don't go blaming yourself now. If you want to blame anyone, blame society, pal. Chief Gant may be able to fool everyone else with his forgery, but he can't fool my memory. I remember now. I knocked Mr. Marshall into that armor.
I see.
Well, we better get back. It's time for the final act.
Please let it be the final act.
Emma, why don't you wait? No, I'm going with you. I want to be there when Lana tells the truth.
Let's go, Wright. It's time to end this. To be continued. Oh boy. Oh boy. Take a swig before I get up again. Now then, will the defendant, Miss Lana Skye, please take the stand? Miss Lana Skye, you are the chief prosecutor. I'm sure you're aware of what is required of you.
But Mr. Edgeworth, you already know everything. You know all that I've done these past 2 years.
Please provide the court with your testimony, Miss Skye. And remember, you are under oath. We want to hear the truth.
Of course, the truth. Lana, no matter what happens, I'll always be your sister.
Now then, your testimony, if you will. First, tell us about your relationship with Gant.
Everything hinges on your testimony. You're the only chance we have to get Gant. I worked alongside Gant for years. There's no truth to this blackmail theory. I fabricated the evidence 2 years ago all by myself. When I found Prosecutor Marshall's body, I rearranged the crime scene. My only motivation was to get Dark convicted. It had nothing to do with Emma.
Are you sure about this testimony?
Your Honor, I'm confessing to a capital offense. Of course I'm sure. But Lana...
If this is true, then that means Chief Gant has nothing to do with this.
That's what I've been telling you from the beginning. Please, Mr. Wright, you gotta help her. She's sacrificing herself because of me. But what if she's telling the truth? Phoenix! She's not. I know my own sister. Whenever she speaks stiffly like that, she's hiding something inside. Deep down, she's really screaming in agony. Yeah, this is no time to start second-guessing myself.
The defendant may now begin his cross-examination. Alright.
How many years exactly? Ever since I made senior detective. Let's see, I was 24 then, so that would be 5 years.
Detective Gant and Detective Skye were legendary partners. I personally saw them testify in numerous cases.
She must have been good, coming from the same school as Mia. Damon Gant was a respectable detective. That's why... Think about it, Miss Skye. You didn't murder Detective Goodman. You told me as much yesterday in jail. You still don't get it, do you, Mr. Wright? Any testimony you cannot present in court is as useless as idle gossip. I stabbed Detective Goodman with a knife. And... Did you do so to help your sister? Joe Dark was a serial killer. My sister almost became his last victim that day. I didn't want that incident to ruin her life. But what she did was justifiable self-defense. She wouldn't have been charged with anything. It's not the point. She was traumatized that day, all because of that creep. That's why I couldn't forgive him. Why not?
So that's why you fabricated the evidence 2 years ago?
You say you did all this by yourself? Yes. Would you mind telling us what you found when you arrived at the crime scene? It seems I was the first person to discover the scene. The broken prosecutor award's knife was stuck in the victim's body. What? Prosecutor Marshall died from an unfortunate accident. That's only a situation you dreamed was possible. The reality is, it wasn't my sister who took the prosecutor's life. Fantasize all you want, Mr. Wright, but I'll never change this statement. You mean Prosecutor Marshall wound up being killed by Dark? Something like that. If that is so, what happened to the other murder weapon? Dark was carrying a switchblade knife. Oh, that was lying on the floor a little distance away. It was probably knocked away in the struggle. It's not how it went down. She's trying to cover up her lies with more lies. All just to protect me.
So, when you found the scene like this, what did you do? After all, this is what everything boils down to.
Yes. I broke off the tip of Dark's knife. I planted it inside the wound and moved the body. You planted the tip of Dark's knife in the victim's wound?
And then you moved the body.
But why? Why would you do that? You of all people should know, Edgeworth. You've always had a good head on your shoulders. My head isn't that bad. Maybe I ought to ask for the sake of the others. When you showed up on the scene, where exactly was the victim's body? It was where you deduced it was, by Chief Gant's desk. But the body was found by your desk. Why did you move it there? The reason for that is simple.
Let's have the witness explain this in more detail. The reason Miss Skye moved the body.
The pieces of jar that shattered during the event start my plan. Pieces of the jar? You mean... Yes, that wretched jar Mr. White showed us earlier. In order to show that Dark committed the crime, I felt it would be more expedient to move the body. So, when you first found the body, the jar was already... Of course, it had been shattered to pieces. If you look at the crime scene, it would be clear right away what happened. Neil Marshall was dead, and Dark was lying unconscious. In other words, the jar must have been broken during their struggle.
See.
What's the matter, Emma? Apparently the jar shattered at the time the crime was committed. But I have a feeling there's more to it than that. Must be a contradiction here somewhere. Anyway, I committed this fabrication completely alone. My only motivation was to get Dark convicted. It had nothing to do with him. Yeah, it did. So, you rearranged the crime scene. Are you sure you didn't do this to keep Emma from looking like the murderer? How many times do I have to tell you, Mr. Wright? Emma didn't do it. Period. Are you so desperate to hide that fact? Willing to risk the death sentence? She's lying. She did it so I wouldn't be blamed for what happened. In any case, as a prosecutor, what I've done is unpardonable. There's nothing I can do to make up for my actions. Mr. Wright, my sister's lying. So she's determined to protect you to the end. She insists that she fabricated the evidence all by herself. There's no way she could have done it alone. Gotta get Lana to talk more. If she's lying, then she's bound to slip up and make it a contradiction. I mean, she's already made a couple. Okay, so... Land inside the window and move the body. Well, that's a contradiction. Pieces of darkness that threatened my plan. My only motivation was to get Dark convicted and had nothing to do with Emma. Okay, then what about the strip of cloth? God! Fine. Nothing to do with Emma. Okay, then what about the the evidence list. So, it had nothing to do with Emma. Jeez. Jar shined it. Got my plan. Look at the net. And moved it. So she moved the body because the shattered pieces of the jar threatened her plan. But why is that? You know, like, if the jar was shattered, what would that tell anyone? I mean, there was blood on it, but that couldn't be enough. And plus, you know, it would be easier to move the jar itself than to move the bodies.
Objection!
Really? Fuck off. It had nothing to do with Emma. Oh, should I... Maybe...
Objection!
Hey, there we go. Miss Skye, I understand how you feel. You committed that crime 2 years ago to protect your sister.
You mean the forgery at the scene where Neil Marshall was murdered?
If that truth were to be exposed now, the past 2 years of your life will have been useless. Even so, I am compelled to bring to everyone's attention a significant contradiction within your testimony. Contradiction? In my testimony? You had a lot, lady, but only one could really be singled out. You testified, and I quote, "The pieces of the jar that shattered during the events threatened my plan." That's right.
Do you have proof of that?
It's a simple oversight, really. You see, a message was written on the jar with the victim's blood. Yes, the prosecutor must have written in his final moments. Exactly so. And this is where the contradiction lies. In order for the victim to be able to write his message on the jar, it must not yet have been broken before he died. Ah. He couldn't have written Emma's name on the shattered jar. Well, I mean... Well, I guess it's true.
Order, order.
I figured it was just something about moving the jar pieces versus moving the body, but okay, well, sure. Your Honor, it would appear more information is needed in regard to this jar and its bloody message. And we may be missing something critical here. Something critical? Chief Prosecutor, it seems you're as in the dark as we are about the truth towards which we're headed. What? Just tell us exactly what you saw. We'll piece together the information to arrive at the truth.
Very well. The witness may now continue her testimony.
Lana's pissed. Lana! Lana! Okay. I immediately noticed the blood traces on the jar, but it was dark in the room and I didn't have time to check it out. To be safe, I wiped away the blood. The fragments were large, so I'm sure I got them all. No, you didn't get all the blood. All I could think about was wiping them clean before they were discovered.
You mean you were the one who wiped away this message in blood?
Wasn't Chief Prosecutor at the time. She didn't think Dark was the real murderer. That's why she tried to erase the real evidence.
Very well. The defense may now begin its cross-examination.
You didn't wipe away all the blood. immediately noticed the blood traces on the jar. So the jar was already broken? It's a miracle that thing hadn't broken earlier.
It certainly looks as feeble as the defense's case.
Not as feeble as the judge's judgment. It is pretty feeble. You were a nice detective who never missed a detail. Do you really expect us to believe you didn't investigate what was written on the jar pieces? Normally I would have. But it was dark in the room, and I didn't have time to check it out. So you didn't know your sister's name was written on the jar? Then why did you wipe it down? No. If I had known, I would have gathered all the pieces and ground them to dust. That helps my case. Lana, you'd do that for me? Emma! Seems you two might make up yet. Anyway, I just barely had enough time to move the body as it was. If someone happened upon the scene, you'd lose your chance to erase the evidence. You must have been in a hurry. I was. I knew I had to destroy the evidence before anyone came.
This is rather shocking.
To be safe, I wiped away the blood. No, you didn't. You missed some. I'm afraid this action of yours reveals what really happened.
What do you mean?
If you really thought Dark killed Prosecutor Marshall, you wouldn't have wiped away the blood. What else could I have done in that situation? Lana, I only had a few moments. There wasn't enough time for me to do anything else but gather up the pieces. The fragments were large, so I'm sure I got them all. No, you didn't. But how could you see with the power out? It should have been pitch black in the office. A detective is always prepared, Mr. Wright. Even now, I always carry a pocket light and a camera with me. Even I carry my bottle of emergency luminol wherever I go. I never missed anything, so I got every last piece. All I could think about was wiping them clean before they were discovered. So you illegally rearranged the crime scene? Yes, I don't have any excuses for my actions. So sorry, Lana. I didn't know. I've treated you so badly all this time. It's not too late. There's still plenty of time to make up. After we've gotten to the bottom of this incident.
No doubt this day will leave a permanent stain on the history of the prosecutor's office.
More contradictions have surfaced in her testimony. Your sister's really putting up a fight. She must really care about you. Still, she's not doing this the right way. I think I've finally figured out the contradictions in her testimony. There's one final possibility that might turn everything else around. Okay, well, she's talking about the blood traces on the jar. Yeah, but it was so dark in the room, I didn't have time to check it out. To be safe, I wiped away the blood. The fragments were large, so I got them all. You didn't get them all, though. There's still some blood left.
Objection!
This fucking jar. Miss Skye, I believe this jar conceals a truth even you were unaware of. You missed a piece. We found the final piece of this jar in Chief Gant's safe. In the Chief's safe? But how? I knew it. She really didn't know. There's something even more disturbing about that final piece. There was still blood on it.
But the witness just testified that she gathered every last piece and wiped the blood off them.
Yes, which leaves us with only one explanation. On the night Prosecutor Marshall was murdered, you were not the first one to show up on the scene. Chief Gant got there before you.
But couldn't the defendant have simply missed a piece?
I'm afraid that's unlikely. The pieces are too big for anyone to miss, let alone an ace detective.
That may well be, but everyone makes mistakes. Even I once wasted an entire day looking for my dentures. They were in my mouth all along.
Couldn't you believe it? Judge! We are in the middle of a murder case! Have you forgotten, Your Honor? When this witness arrived at the scene, the jar was already broken.
Oh, that.
There's no way a name could have been written on a shattered jar. Another person discovered the scene prior to the witness.
I hope you're not implying this person was Chief Gant. At the time, he was looking for Dark downstairs. Besides, even if he was there first, why would he break the...
The question is, if he did arrive there first, why did he hide that fact for 2 years? Well, Your Honor, can you answer us that? No! No! Wait, why are we pressing the judge? He doesn't know anything.
Wait, I'm not the one on trial here.
Damon Gant arrived at the crime scene prior to the witness. He then proceeded to break the jar and purposefully hid one of the broken pieces. Question: what is this action called? Fabrication.
But why would Chief Gant do that?
In light of what happened afterwards, isn't it clear?
What happened afterwards?
Discovering the scene, Lana Skye believed her sister Emma killed the victim. Determined to help her sister, she sought Gant's aid. Lending her his aid, Gant helped her create evidence that incriminated Dark, sparing Emma. And here's the reason. The reason why Miss Skye became the Chief's puppet. No, I did it on my own. Please, sis, stop trying to protect the Chief. I can't watch you suffer anymore for my sake. No, you didn't. It wasn't you, Emma. You didn't kill anyone. Don't believe anything Mr. Wright says. Defense attorneys make up the most foul lies to defend their victims. Clients. Ugh. Foul lies? Imagine that coming from my own client.
I guess you do seem like the type who likes to twist the truth.
Judge! A minute. What if we're still smack dab in the middle of Grant's trap?
Is something wrong, Mr. Wright?
Lana, may be right after all. What do you mean right? So you do tell foul lies then, Mr. Wright? Emma. Miss Skye, please testify once more. But if evidence was fabricated behind your back, then Emma's accidental killing of Prosecutor Marshall might also be a lie. But I do remember knocking over Mr. Marshall. No, you don't. You remember knocking over someone. Miss Skye, if you will. I can't. There's nothing to be afraid of anymore. This cross-examination may not change a thing. However, there is a possibility that it will, if you tell the truth. Very well. I'll testify about what I really saw.
Alright, the witness may testify once more for the final time.
Yeah, I'm still convinced that Gant murdered, Marshall. I don't know why, though. When I arrived, I found Mr. Marshall's body impaled on that suit of armor's sword. Emma and Dark were lying unconscious on the floor nearby. When I saw what had happened, I thought she did it. That's why I erased all the evidence that linked her to the murder. I had Chief Gant help me remove the body from the sword and carry it. But if it all really was a fabrication, Emma might be innocent.
Unbelievable. The body was impaled on the armor's sword?
Judge, we established that a while back. You were the only one who saw that, if only you had proof. Actually, I do have proof. I gave it to Mr. Wright just this morning. The evidence book? What, to me? It's a picture I took of the crime scene as I encountered it. I thought it might be needed. Which was this? The crime... Did I... But I don't remember receiving a picture like that. Lana must have known. See, Mr. Wright? She really does have faith in you.
Very well, Mr. Wright. Please present this picture.
I don't remember receiving any pictures from Lana. All I got was the book. Lana said she gave it to you this morning, right? I seem to remember getting something from her then. Let's check that evidence again. There must be a picture in there somewhere. And the book? Oh. No, okay, I could only examine it before, I couldn't check it. What's this? Oh, right, Japanese books. They open from right to left. Hey, there's a picture in here. Or, no, that was from left to right. Oh. Oh my. This is the actual crime scene. No other detective saw the crime scene like this. That's because I contacted Criminal Affairs only after I rearranged the scene. Mr. Wright, that piece cut up. Could that be the cloth we found inside Chief Gant's safe? With the handprint. What's this? It's a handprint? That cloth, it had fingerprints on it. Whosever fingerprints those are must be the real murderer. What? But those fingerprints, they're yours, Emma. Why are your lips turning all purple, Mr. Wright? Anyway, let's get on with the cross-examination. So long as you tell the truth, we should be able to flesh out the real murderer.
Very well. The defense may now begin its cross-examination.
How long have we been in court? When I arrived, I found Mr. Marshall's body impaled on a suit. Oh, fuck you! Oh, come on. Come now, Udgy. This is the poorest excuse for a trial I've ever seen.
Chief Gant.
What, now you want to make me out as the bad guy too? If so, I'd like to put in a word or two in my defense. I'm afraid it's too late for that. What? You already declined testimony. That means you forfeited your right to make statements of any sort. This must be the risk the judge was talking about. Just sit back, relax, and enjoy the sound of the noose tightening around your own neck. Damn, Edgeworth. So what? You think I'm worried? Sorry to disappoint you, but I don't need to make any statements. What do you mean? The evidence will do all the talking for me. Even if I can't testify, I can still present evidence.
Yes, that's true. Wait, you mean you still have some conclusive evidence?
No, I don't. But someone does.
Someone?
So then, what's your excuse, Rhino? Fuck. Why have you been keeping quiet about it? You do have something to show us, right? He put Emma's hand on the cloth. He's the one who made the handprint. Something that proves who knocked over Neil Marshall, causing his death. Conclusive evidence that leaves no room for doubt.
Is this true, Mr. Wright?
Yes. Sure to be made out as the murderer.
Mr. Wright, if you have any more evidence, present it now. If you try to conceal anything, you will be the one appearing before the Board of Inquiries.
I do now. Better think this through carefully. Can't afford to make the wrong decision. Should I present that piece of evidence? The one that shows who really killed Prosecutor Marshall? Okay, no, if I present that now, that loops us back around to saying Emma did it. We're trying to tie Gant to it. I cannot say that, but I gotta make a safety save just in case. Your Honor, I don't have any evidence that I can present at this time. Never mind that scrap of cloth I was waving about my head a whole bunch of times earlier. That doesn't exist anymore. What? You lie!
Chief Gant?
You opened my safe. I know you took what was inside. The conclusive evidence. I don't know what you're talking about. Mr. Wright, why don't you show them? We found it together. Oh, I see. It's because you know the truth, don't you? You know whose fingerprints are on it. That's why you won't present it. What are you talking about, Chief Gant? Can't you figure it out? Take a good look at this picture. See the victim's vest? Notice anything odd about the chest area? I notice that someone cut the cloth away purposefully. It looks like part of it's been cut off for some reason. You mean you had this in your safe?
What? That means you, the chief of police, concealing evidence?
That's not a surprise.
Well, this is going to be the biggest scandal in the history of the police department.
Impressive. To be honest, I didn't think you had the gall, Righto. Well, I can't just let you pin me up as the murderer. I'll tell you what really happened. No, you can't. You can't testify.
What? You mean you admit to it?
I was the first one to arrive at the crime scene that day. It then occurred to me that I could use the situation to control Lana. So you really were manipulating her. I knew Lana, if I made it look like the blame lay with her sister, that when she saw the scene, she would ask me for my aid. So you assisted Miss Sky. I told her to arrange all the evidence. I had her plant the knife tip in the victim's body and move the body across the room. And I ended up using that evidence to get Joe Dark convicted. When we rearranged the crime scene, I hid 2 pieces of evidence. I did this before Lana arrived at the scene. 2 pieces of evidence? You mean those items in your safe?
But why?
For insurance. Of course. Insurance. I was sure my plan would work, but it's always best to be prepared for the worst. I wasn't about to let anyone blame me for a murder that girl committed.
You mean you were calculating that far ahead while forging the evidence?
Who do you take me for, fool? I didn't make police chief by dumb luck. See this jar fragment? I hid the most legible part of Emma's name. I didn't expect Lana to go and wipe the blood off all the pieces. But if you fabricated all the evidence, what's to say you didn't fabricate the message on this jar too? Oh. Some people just don't know when to quit, do they? That's why I kept one more item for insurance. You mean that piece of cloth? Oh, come now, Righto. Come on, Righto. Cough it up already. I know you have it. What are you waiting for, Mr. Wright? So you admit to it then, Chief Gant, that you were hiding the cloth you cut off from the victim's vest in your safe. Yes, I admit it. I didn't want to have to do that, being chief and all. But it's a lot better than being portrayed as a murderer.
Well, Mr. Wright, what do you have to say for yourself? Just a moment ago, you said you didn't have any evidence you could present.
Foolish move, Righto. You should have shown it then, before it was too late. It's been a long battle, and it's been a really long battle. But the moment of truth has finally arrived. As long as I don't mess up here, victory is mine. Okay, so do I present the cloth? He said if I don't mess up. Your Honor, I do have evidence to present now.
Alright then, let's see this conclusive evidence. The evidence that shows who actually murdered Prosecutor Marshall.
Okay. Well, if Phoenix says so, let me verify this once more. On the day of the crime, you personally cut out this piece from the victim's vest. Oh yes! At last you finally brought it out into the open.
There's a handprint on this piece of cloth.
Your Honor, the prosecution requests that be immediately sent to the lab for analysis. This handprint on the leather. There must have been a strong impact for it to be left so clearly.
You mean?
It could not have been forged. It must be authentic, conclusive evidence. Oh. You're as slow on the uptake as ever, Worthy. What? Think about it. Righto had all this time to present this evidence. I presented it several times, but he kept getting shot down. Yet he was reluctant to do so. Why would that be? You mean you already knew? You know whose fingerprints are on that. Mr. Wright, do you really know?
Whoever the fingerprints must belong to must be the real murderer. Whose fingerprints are they?
Very well. I'll tell you. It should be okay now. Everything's proceeding as predicted. The person whom these fingerprints belong to are... David Gant! No, it's Emma Skye.
Emma Skye?
What? They're mine? Sorry, Emma. But why? Why didn't you tell me? Oh, he wanted to conceal evidence. Oh, ho, ho, ho! You're really something, Righto. You knew this girl did it all along, and you still tried to pin the murder on me.
So it's true. Tragic, but true. This girl really did shove Prosecutor Marshall to his death.
How could you? You monster!
Miss Skye.
You knew whose fingerprints those were all along, yet you acted like she really didn't. Miss Skye, it's not over yet. What? I said this trial isn't over yet.
Ha! But I'm afraid it is over, boy. Not on this trial,
but your career too. You purposefully concealed this conclusive evidence. That, my friend, is a serious offense. I'm looking forward to pressing charges after the defendant is convicted. I'll have your badge, boy. What's the matter? Cat got your tongue? Aren't you going to tell us how it feels? How it feels to be the one single-handedly turned a poor little girl who single-handedly turned a poor little girl into a murderer. Before I do that, there's just one little thing I have to clear up. Oh, and what's that? Who really killed Prosecutor Neil Marshall?
What?
Chief Gant, you are absolutely right. This piece of cloth proves who the real murderer is. Who killed Neil Marshall, you ask?
It was Emma Skye, wasn't it?
I'm afraid that's not possible. You see, this piece of cloth contains a critical contradiction. He cut it out!
What? A contradiction?
What is this fool babbling about? I'm talking about a contradiction, one that proves who the real killer is.
Mr. Wright, this piece of cloth, what could it possibly contradict?
Chief Gant, your tyrannical reign ends here. Behold, the piece of evidence that contradicts this cloth. Okay, yeah, Chief Gant cut it out. And what exactly is this supposed to be? This is the picture Miss Skye took. Take a good look at it. See where the piece of his vest was cut out?
Yes, his shirt is showing underneath. It's hard to make out with all the blood on his vest, though.
Exactly my point. His chest is soaked with blood, that's only natural. His lungs, no doubt, were punctured, blood poured out of his mouth.
Oh, but that piece of cloth is clean! Wait, there's no blood on it.
Ah! Since Emma Skye's fingerprints are on this cloth, there's no doubt that she shoved the prosecutor aside. But she did shove him into the knife. However, Mr. Marshall was not impaled on the sword. No, this is nonsense! Now then, Chief Gant, let me ask you something. Prosecutor Marshall was not impaled when he was shoved aside. He most likely hit his head on the ground and was knocked out. If so, then tell me, who could it have been? Who could have arrived at the scene before Miss Skye, picked up the unconscious prosecutor, and impaled him on the armor's sword? Then, to make it look like Emma was responsible for the prosecutor's death, Said person proceeded to write her name on the jar with the victim's blood. Then he broke the jar on purpose to leave behind a clue, and make Lana believe her sister did it. Remember what you admitted only moments ago? That you personally cut out this bloodless piece of the victim's vest. Ironic, isn't it? Through the very act of creating insurance, you proved that you were the actual murderer. No! It's finished. Objection! Wow. He gained 100 years. Oh, that was close, Rhino. You almost had me. Sorry, but you'll have to do better than that. I refute your allegations.
What do you mean, refute his allegations?
You see, that piece of cloth is illegal evidence.
Order? Order! What nonsense is this?
Illegal evidence cannot be used to convict a suspect. Remember Udgy? Earlier, old Rhino here concealed that piece of cloth. So then, what's your excuse, Rhino? You do have some conclusive evidence, do you, don't you? Your Honor, I don't have any evidence I can present at this point in time.
Well, that's true. The defense did refuse to present evidence.
At that moment, that piece of cloth ceased to be legal evidence. But that's not fair.
Did you actually think you could beat best me in court? It looks like the last laugh's on you, son. I'm afraid Mr. Gant's claim is legally correct. Mr. Edgeworth?
True, illegal evidence cannot be used to convict a person. Assuming, of course, that the evidence is indeed illegal.
Well, Mr. Wright?
What were the 2 rules of evidence law? Seems at last. The time for me to reveal my plan has finally arrived. I studied up on evidence law beforehand.
Mr. Wright, do you admit to it? That you purposefully and illegally concealed this piece of evidence?
I did not. Safety save first. Certainly. I refused to present evidence at one point. Aha! So the evidence is legal. Rule 2. No, it isn't, Mr. Gant. Huh? It's not that I didn't present evidence then. It's that I couldn't. Rule 2 of evidence law.
What do you mean you couldn't?
There are certain procedures involved when presenting evidence. No! Udgy, don't listen to his lies! He's nothing but a coward. You can't let him! There is only one issue left to be resolved in this trial. Is this evidence legal or not?
Very well. Let us settle this once and for all. Earlier, you refused to present evidence. If you can prove your conduct was not in violation of the law, do so now.
I got a book! I got this book! This is my proof, Your Honor. Evidence law. What's this? I've done my homework too, Chief. Indeed, Emma Sky's fingerprints were on this piece of cloth. However, at that point in time, this was merely a piece of cloth, nothing more. What? You see, it's written right here in this book. The second rule of evidence law. Rule 2! Rule number 1. No evidence shall be shown without the approval of the police department. I found this piece of evidence myself, inside your safe. It goes without saying, I did not have approval from the police department. Rule number 2. Unregistered evidence presented must be relevant to the case in the trial. And here's the crux of the matter. You see, at the time, it was impossible for me to prove the relevance between the cloth and the SL9 incident. What? What kind of nonsense is this? You want relevancy? Just take one look at this picture, and... Sorry, but can you recall when was that picture presented?
That was shown only a few moments ago.
No. He's right. At the beginning of today's trial, that piece of cloth was still meaningless. And the person who gave it value as evidence was you, Damon Gant. You yourself confessed to a certain truth. Let me verify this once more. On the day of the crime, you personally cut out this piece of the victim's vest? Oh yes. No! It was then that you proved this cloth as conclusive evidence. Yes, you, the chief of police, personally approved this cloth. The only person who would have cut this from the victim's vest is the one who stood before Prosecutor Marshall in his final moments. In other words, the real murderer. And there's only one person who that could be. Damon Gant. The killer was you. Oh, he's going wild. Oh, I knew I should have gotten rid of him. That good-for-nothing scum. For 2 years, he's been snooping around the department trying to get something on me. Crimes are being committed every day, yet he insisted on hounding me. Well, your crime wasn't exactly petty. He wanted to reinvestigate the case. He recruited Angel Starr, then convinced Bruce Goodman. Detective Goodman? Yeah, that's right. If the evidence is transferred, I'll lose my only chance to find out the truth. Please, you've got to help me. Goodman turned him down, as he ought to. Still, Jake Marshall didn't know when to quit. He stole Goodman's ID card and tried to take the evidence. Goodman came to me that day. He wanted to file a lost item report. I went with him to the evidence room. Then, all of a sudden, he had to speak out. Oh. What are you talking about, Goodman? Can you please reopen the investigation, Chief? We can't transfer the evidence out of here. There are too many questions left unanswered. Oh, Goodman, that was a bad time to do that. He told me to open up the evidence room and take it out. It's not too late. I'll hand this to Marshall. Well, to be honest, I was a little panicked too. I had a bad feeling about it, but never knew it would come to this. That's when I saw it, that accursed knife. I couldn't just pull it out. It would only increase the amount of blood on you, and you couldn't finish what you started. Even so, the blood was just pouring out. I didn't know who might stumble in, so I was wiping it up. I was worrying so much about the floor, I didn't realize my mistake. Detective Gumshoe's bloody handprint. I used to be known as the crime computer, but everyone has to start somewhere, I guess. I was too nervous. I had no business doing any of it. Then you put the body in my car. I'm sorry. We couldn't think of any other way to move the body. We broke the trunk, but what's the big deal? You pulled down a lot more than us detectives. Huh? What does this have to do with anything? And who's this we? You're horrible. How could you get Miss Guy involved in all of this? Well, she had as much to lose as I did if the truth came out. So you took the evidence from Detective Goodman's locker. I feel bad for having to do it. I couldn't just sit around and pick and choose what to take. Well, you left the jar fragment and the gloves. Yeah, it looks like I was better off being an investigator of crimes than a committer. They all did their best to get in my way. I've got to hand it to them. They do their jobs well, much to my dismay. Fake evidence doesn't hold up very well upon close examination. You must have known that. Tell me, Worthy, what are you doing in court? Me? You despise criminals. I can feel it. You and me, we're the same. One day you'll understand. If you want to take them on alone, You'll figure it out. You'll figure out what's needed. Well, looks like it's time to say goodbye. Oh, Aji?
What?
Looks like we'll have to cancel that lunch date. Sorry, old friend.
I'm sorry too, Damon Gant. I knew you as you used to be long ago. You were once a fine investigator, and an example to others on the force. I'm sorry to learn that you are no longer that person.
Those days are long gone now, Aji. Thanks for all the memories, though. Don't worry, you'll be fine. Now that you have Wright here, and Worthy. With these two around, you can't go wrong. You see, if I listen carefully, I can hear it right now. The sound of a new beginning. Fuck, my face hurts. I'm drained. There are two things I want you to understand. Yes? First, your sister never hurt anyone. Second, Damon Gant portrayed you from the beginning. You see, Miss Skye, you no longer have any reason to keep silent. You're right. When this trial is over, I'll tell everything. All that I've done these past 2 years, from the time I had Gant help me forge evidence up until today.
So, it seems that all the questions raised in this trial have been answered.
I'm sorry, Miss Skye. I couldn't get you out of all your trouble. My. What high standards you have. For a rookie. I can see why Mia thought so highly of you. Who knows? A few years from now, you just might make it to the top. Aw. Good smile. I owe you my thanks, Mr. Wright. Miss Skye. And to you too, Mr. Edgeworth. You've suffered every bit as much as I have over these past few days. Believe me, I know how much of an ordeal it's been for you. It was nothing. Liar. I was worried the pressure might break you. And yet, you rose above it all and guided Mr. Wright to victory. He was writing a letter of resignation. You've done well, Mr. Edgeworth.
Stop it! I only did my job. In light of this case, it seems a good self-examining is in order for all of us.
Especially you, Judge, you fucking corrupt piece of shit.
Miss Skye.
Yes, Your Honor?
You are innocent of murder. However, although the chief blackmailed you, the fact is you still acted as his accomplice. A trial will be scheduled for these crimes at a later date.
Yes, I understand, Your Honor.
Is there something amusing about all this? Why are you smiling?
It's been a long time, Your Honor. A long time since I felt free of these heavy chains.
Well, this trial has gone on far too long already.
I agree with you there.
Regarding the charge of murder, this court finds the defendant, Miss Lana Skye, not guilty. That is all. The court is adjourned.
Hit me. Long last. It's finally over. And I think I just ran out of raid time. Fuck. Emma. Why the long face? Sorry your sister didn't get completely off the hook. But at least she wasn't convicted for a murder she didn't commit. No, that's not it. Just now, after the trial ended. I can see why Maya Fey thought so highly of you. I owe you my thanks, Mr. Wright. And to you too, Mr. Edgeworth. You've suffered every bit as much as I have over these past few days. You've done well. You know, I did my best too, but Lana didn't say a single word to me. I hope I'm not interrupting anything. Oh. Oh. I guess I am. I'll come back later. Ah, Detective Gumshoe! What is it? You're doing this on purpose, aren't you? Making a detective run all around while on duty. I'm losing it. and to top it off, you call me here. I've seen happier people at funerals. Hey, lighten up, pals. I'm only kidding. Oh? Are you here because of my sister again? Nope. Not this time. I came today because of you, pal. Me. That's right. I thought you'd like to see someone. Hey. Lana. Should you be doing this? She's still under arrest, you know. Well, I won't tell if you won't. Emma, I owe you an apology. It's okay, sis. Don't worry about it. That day, 2 years ago, was the first time in my life I ever panicked. It was all I could do to keep myself from screaming. All I could think about was keeping you from getting wrapped up in that mess. Sis, I asked Scant to help me cover up the truth. I thought I was doing it for your sake, but now I realize I was wrong. I changed after that day. I had to. It was the only way I could make it through the past 2 years. I knew how much I was hurting you by distancing myself, but I couldn't bring myself to tell you what I did. I was scared. Scared that you'd look at me with those eyes of yours. I was scared of how you'd react if you knew. But sis, you were only doing it for me. No. Huh? I turned my back on you that day. In hiding what I believed to be the truth, I was deceiving you. Sis, I'm such a fool. It took me all this time to realize it. Emma, I'm so sorry. But sis, you don't have to apologize. I'm happy now. You're happy? Of course. You know, sis, I always knew that one day you'd come back. And now you have. Oh, that's a good smile. Oh, Emma. That is a good smile. Protect those smiles. Hell yeah. No one can change the past. The only thing we can do is strive to make up for our mistakes. Why must we make up for our mistakes, you ask? Because in so doing, we can find the way back to our path. And once we've found our path, we can move on from our past mistakes toward a brighter future. At least that's what I felt looking at those two sisters make up. Mr. Wright, Mr. Gumshoe, me? Thank you both for all that you've done. I'm sure we'll meet again someday. Isn't that right, Edgeworth? Edgeworth? Stop hiding, come over here. Old Hawkeye Edgeworth. Where was he hiding? No, he was just behind the plant. I just came to say, congratulations. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Edgeworth. Right. Well, I'll be going now. Mr. Edgeworth, I hope you don't blame yourself for what happened. We were the ones who acted corruptly, not you. It's too late for me. No matter what anyone may say, I realize today that I can't change my own mistakes. Mr. Edgeworth? Not only that, but I don't even trust myself anymore. Chief Gant was right. You despise criminals. I can feel it. You and me, we're the same. No. You committed murder. Edgeworth hasn't. One day you'll understand. If you want to take them on alone, you'll figure out what's needed. If you want to take them alone, fuck over everyone and gain a lot of money and power while you do so. I do despise criminals. I plan to dedicate my entire life to fighting them. But in order to fight crime alone, one needs a weapon. It's scary. But I've been thinking the same thing for quite some time now. But Edgeworth? Who knows? Given enough time, I might have tried to pull something like Chief Gant did. That thought terrifies me. That's why I can't continue on as a prosecutor. So become a defense attorney, dude. Edgeworth, don't you understand? Damon Ganton, your mentor, Manfred von Karma, were both the best of the best when it came to fighting crime. But they both made the same mistake. Yeah, they committed murder. You said in order to fight crime alone, one needs a weapon. That may be right, but think back to today's trial. You weren't alone. Yeah, you were the prosecution and you were working with the defense on this, so you were basically just double-teaming the witness. You were working together with Mr. Wright. And because of that partnership, you were able to present evidence that otherwise would have gone undiscovered. Isn't that right, Mr. Wright? You had to get that last one in there, didn't you? Huh? What? Oh, yeah. What is this, a pop quiz? Come on, Mr. Wright, show him what Lana's talking about. Evidence that neither Edgeworth nor I would have been able to find on our own?
Take that!
And that might mean something to you. I don't see how it had anything to do with our partnership. Huh? Mr. Wright, seems you still have a lot to learn as well. I guess that wasn't the right piece of evidence. Oh, please don't penalize me! Oh no! Wait! Oh, let me try again! Excuse me. There are still some loose ends that need wrapping up. Take care, Chief Prosecutor. Wait! No! Edgeworth! What will you do now? Whatever you... Fuck! What happened in this trial can either make or break you as a prosecutor. In the end, it's up to you. And I know. It seems I owe you my thanks too, Wright. What I face now is my problem. Edgeworth, I'll be waiting for you in court. Can I get a do-over? Please? I know, I'll load my save state. I have to go through all that shit with Gant again. It seems we both still have a lot to learn. Here, this is a little something for you. Scientific investigation? It's the first book I ever bought. Study it well. Thanks, sis. I will. Shit. Oh my god, I just realized what it was. It's the fucking evidence list, because we both had two halves of it. We had to put the halves together to get the whole thing. Damn it! Oh, as for the sisters, I have faith. Good smiles. Love those smiles. Faith that their lives have only just begun. As for me, I think it's time I started on a new journey of my own. Journey to rediscover myself. Well, don't go checking off just yet, pal. Huh? What is it, detective? It's just a little matter to be resolved about the chief prosecutor. You see, she isn't supposed to be out of jail like this. But I thought you said it was okay. Yeah, well, it might be okay with me, but the folks at the prison are a different story. Huh? Basically, I had to bribe a guard in order to sneak her out for 30 minutes. And believe me, it wasn't cheap either. One of Angel's steak lunches. Way to go, detective. I didn't know you had a wild side. Yeah, well, you see, Mr. Wright here is the one who'll be footing the bill. What? What? You think I could afford that with my salary? Oh, you gotta be kidding me, pal. Gumshoe! I have never gotten paid! Or anything, as far as I know. What? I make less money than you! Thank you, Mr. Wright, you're the best. I'm drowning in debt! Why is it? I suddenly feel like I want to scream. Since we're all here, why don't we all go together? Yeah, that's a great idea. Come on, guys. Let's go.
Objection!
Oh my god! I arranged for a friend of mine in Europe to take care of Emma. Ooh, I can... As for me, this affair has pretty much ended my days as the prosecutor's office. Ooh, I can draw a thing. Aww. Investigate crimes with Emma. Okay, well, I think that's the end. The end of, Oh, yikes. I thought I was gone for a moment there. In the end, though, we overlooked my unauthorized investigation in the chief's office. If we penalized you anymore, it'd be worse than firing you. Yep, that's what they say. Just goes to show, you can't shake me off that easily. Oh, oops. Oh boy. Probably 999, since I was second up on that little poll I did. So, like, I'll start up on that, and then I'll look into getting the. No, fuck you, Meekins! Don't you say shit! Fuck off, Meekins! I swear to God, if you blow that shit, I'm not reading your dialogue. I am fucking watching you. Fuck! God damn it, why? Why did they think Meekins was a good character? I don't understand. Oh right, Last Remnant. Fuck me. Yeah, I was gonna look for the next Phoenix Wright title. 'Cause this was fun. Fuck you, Blue Badger. Ah, broke. Yeah, I'll see if I can find more of these. I might be buy the one off Steam since it's supposed to be like the trilogy. But for now, I am fucking exhausted. What is it? Can't you see I'm having me a showdown with a steak lunch partner? Oh, Miss Star managed to sneak this into me. She's seeing one of the guards, it seems. Well, cowboy, looks like you did it. Even game to... God, I'm so tired and I can't read the dialogue anymore. I'm just like... I can't do the voices. Somnium? I've actually got Somnium. I'd actually forgotten about it. I've only played the very beginning of Somnium. I did mean to get back to it. I've got a lot of things I should do. Fuck yourself, Judge. He's been doing, something or other. How many years? Well, anyway, I've got another trial to get to, so I better be... Oh no! I forgot my gavel! Oh no! Oh no, the judge has run off. Fuck you, Judge. Wait, what? Is this, Somnium? Hey, Maya. I miss you, Maya. You were great. My little Robert Goblin. I sort of got a replacement, but she was less spiritual. If I can get both of you, then I've got the spiritual side of things and the scientific side of things. I can just have you guys investigate for me. Yeah. As far as I know, they never actually called this anything. I think they mentioned California at one point, but I don't think they actually named any specific places besides, like, from Paris to here. And somehow, Paris is only, like, what was it, 8 hours? 6 hours? I can't remember. That first trial feels like so long ago, even though it was just, like, last week. Hey, Emma. You're going to Europe? You're welcome. I'll be alright. Whenever I want to see Lana, all I have to do is open this book. Oh. Aw. Fuck the police, but aw. That's cute.
Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney.
Alrighty. Well, thanks for watching, guys. I've got a lot of other games to play. But for right now, I gotta put food in my belly and actually check in on this Discord call. I joined like 2 hours ago, and I didn't think this would be going on this long. So, good night.